Treated for exposure.
Nobody's answering that question of how everything's been contaminated, how it's gotten in.
An outside agency is set to test the school's carbon monoxide detectors over the next 2 days. Nolan says he won't send his son back until they know where the leak came from. A boy is recovering after police say he was shot in the leg in Syracuse at a party over the weekend. Investigators tell us a fight broke out and several shots were fired. The boy was treated in the hospital. Police have not released the names or ages of the people involved. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Nikki Haley is questioning whether Donald Trump is mentally capable of serving as president after he repeatedly seemed to confuse her with former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi during a campaign speech. Here is ABC News Chief Washington Correspondent John Carl.
That moment is really something. Donald Trump is truly confused about who Nikki Haley is. Thinks somehow that she was in charge of security at the Capitol on January 6th, clearly confusing her with Nancy Pelosi. But we've seen him confuse Joe Biden with Barack Obama. He thinks that he beat Obama. We saw at one point he talked about how Biden was going to get us into World War II.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis endorsed the former president after dropping out of the race. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 156 points at this hour. That's 0.4%. We're at 38,024. Coming up today, well, mostly cloudy. We'll check the weather forecast, and warm weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-DO.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Don't miss out on limited-time appliance deals during the closeout event at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, save an extra $100 when you spend $999 or more on all major appliances. Hurry, these deals are too good to last long. Shop in-store or online today. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 1/4 through 1/24. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details.
Believe it or not, most small businesses don't have a 401k. If you don't have a 401k, you are missing out on the greatest wealth creation tool ever created. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and many 401ks are overpriced for the employer, have expensive and underperforming investment options, and have tedious administrative provisions. Not at Trajan Wealth. We can set up a 401k for a company for only $9 per employee, a $29 per plan fee, plus a small advisory fee, not thousands or even the tens of thousands you've been quoted, and do it all in less time than it takes to sit in traffic. 401ks will help you attract and retain top talent, and we can do it all for a couple $100. If you're an employee and don't have a 401k, tell your boss. Call Trajan Wealth today. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Services offered through a third-party partner.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
Big plans for a healthier new year? Better get cracking. Oakdale Powerhouse Large Eggs have 6 grams of protein and are packed with essential vitamins and minerals. Whether you're trying to lose weight, work out, or just make healthier choices, protein helps you stay full longer and builds muscle. And with Oakdale eggs, no hormones or antibiotics are ever added. For nutritious recipes, visit Oakdale.com. Eggs are the natural, affordable way to make any meal healthier.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. How's it looking, Michelle?
Well, it's pretty quiet overall, Amanda. And we do have a little bit of leftover slowing. This is eastbound I-80 right by the Great Saltaire. Also looking at a little bit of slowing if you're headed northbound I-15 right around 9th South. Use Superior Water and Air for all of your HVAC and plumbing needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air. We got this. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be cloudy and warm, a high of 48 degrees. We have a slight chance of rain tomorrow, more of a chance on Thursday. Right now it's cloudy and 36 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Oh, there was a shakeup in the Republican primary for the presidency. Ron DeSantis, I was surprised, dipping out of the race just 48 hours before the New Hampshire primary.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprise?
Yeah.
Zero surprise over here. Zero surprise.
Is he still on the ballot? He probably is.
Oh yeah. You're that
He's
thing's
on the
been
ballot, but he's
nailed.
out. Yeah.
All right, it's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And sponsored by Mountain America Credit Union. Here are the 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Let's talk as well about our bold new social media law that was just put on pause. It was supposed to go into effect in just a couple of weeks, but the governor signing the pause, which was railroaded through last week, the first week of the legislative session. The law would have child-proofed social media, basically. Kids have to have parents' permission to have an account, can't violate an overnight curfew on social media without your parents' approval. Well, the law's been met with lawsuits. Not just one, but a couple of them. And Dave, when I heard about the governor signing the pause, so it'll push it back at about 6 months for implementation, boy, I thought this is a far cry from the governor's rally cry last year.
I'm not going to back down from a potential legal challenge when these companies are killing our kids.
That was a shocking statement when he made it. I still believe he believes it. I think a lot of us can see the real problems that are coming with social media. Does this matter? Well, quite honestly, I don't think they had any idea what they were doing in the first place. I remember the press conference when they were like, we're going to sue everybody. We're just going to sue everybody. I don't think they knew exactly what it would look like, what the lawsuit would look like, what the future would look like, but they needed to get the social media companies' attention, and they definitely have done that.
Countdown. 2.
Okay, well, we're willing to admit we may have struck out looking last week on the show on Friday when we were talking about the Oakland A's eyeing Smith's Ballpark as a potential temporary home while their stadium is built in Las Vegas. They're actually looking further south. They're looking in my neighborhood. They're looking in Daybreak to that new stadium that is now under construction in the Daybreak in the South Jordan area. But don't get sad, Salt Lake City. There may be a chance. So you're saying there's a chance, at least for a while, that the Bees will continue to play at Smith's Field while all this goes down. All this for the Oakland A's, which most of us know for only this reason and this reason only. They're the subject of the best baseball movie of all time, Moneyball.
There are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's us.
That's $1, man.
What?
Welcome to Oakland.
That's right. But they may be coming here, so they'll be our team, our terrible team, at least for a couple of years. Now, in our defense, it's very, very shocking to me that they're looking at the new stadium for a couple reasons, because that stadium's not very big. Bees Ballpark is 15,000 people. You can put a lot of people in those stands. The new one's going to be like 7 or 8, like half that size. So I couldn't even imagine that they would try to squeeze them all in there. That's going to be the toughest ticket to get in America.
Launch countdown. 1.
Well, after finishing second in the Iowa caucus, 30 points behind Donald Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is out.
If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
DeSantis doesn't see a path forward because Republicans don't like new Coke. They like Coca-Cola Classic. And I think that says far more about Donald Trump than it does about Ron DeSantis.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Not only did Florida Governor Ron DeSantis drop out of the race for at least the primary, Republican primary race for the White House, he also, in the same breath, gave his endorsement to former President Donald Trump.
It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
And no sooner does DeSantis bend the knee to Trump, Trump makes nice by retiring the nickname.
He just said, will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said, that name is officially retired.
Okay, so DeSanctimonious is out. So is DeSantis. He's out. So that makes it a two-person race. Chris Christie dropped out just before Iowa.
Yep.
Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out just after Iowa.
Yep.
Like moments after the vote started. I was like,
it was a heartbeat after.
I'm done. Yeah, I mean, and then DeSantis drops the social media post that he's out yesterday.
It was kind of funny to me. I'm sitting in church when this happens and the alert happens. I've got everybody turning their cell phones to me like, Dave, did you see this? Like, okay, again, this is not news. This is not surprising. He lost in Iowa by 30 points. He had spent all his time. He had visited every single county, all 99 in Iowa, and he lost by 30 points. How is anybody surprised that he dropped out?
Well, it leaves Nikki Haley face-to-face with Donald Trump in the New Hampshire primary and going forward.
At one point in this campaign, there were 14 of us running. I was at 2% in the polls. Tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
Now, of course, up next is New Hampshire, and this is where Nikki Haley is doing best. The most recent poll has her around 11 points down to Donald Trump. It had been as close as 5 points. So she's done very, very well in New Hampshire. But still, that's where she's closest. Everywhere else, she's hardly even in the ballpark. Speaking of Smith's Ballpark or the new Daybreak Ballpark, her home state of South Carolina, where she was governor, she's losing by 14 points to Donald Trump. So she's kind of close in New Hampshire. Her home state is losing by 14 points.
And we'll know a lot more tomorrow because the primary in New Hampshire is tomorrow. But what went wrong for Ron DeSantis? I mean, remember back, wasn't too long ago that dozens and dozens of Utah Republicans drafted a letter and sent it to Governor DeSantis in Florida and asked him to get into the race. Well, now he's out of the race. So where does Utah go next? Do they go to Trump or do they go to Haley?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Every single show on KSL News Radio is part of the KSL app, so you can listen when you want. News with Tim and Amanda when you get up, hit live on the app. Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1, They're on the app. Plus, you can podcast them for work. And Jeff Kaplan? Yeah, he's there on the app. The movie show, KSL Greenhouse, latest traffic report, they're all on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them. Check it out. That's beautiful. I posted every new fire pit design and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
15 years ago, we were adding on to our home, and so I convinced Sean we should update the kitchen.
We did some research, and we decided to go with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Their reputation was phenomenal. To design, do the construction, and the finish work, what we wanted was what we got from start to finish. So fast forward 15 years, our family's changed. We've gotten bigger.
There just wasn't the space in the kitchen anymore. People were banging into each other.
We decided 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Here's the problem. What are our solutions? Comparing working with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath 15 years ago, today, their ability to design what you want was the same.
Everything has been what I want.
The quality of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I think, is phenomenal. The countertops and the cabinets that they use are great. They were just good guys doing good work.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Jeff Kaplan here. Every once in a while, I do my show from home, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I'm on KSL and sending video to the internet all at the same time because I have Xfinity Wi-Fi. It's pretty amazing because at the same time, my wife's streaming a movie, grandkids come over, one's watching YouTube, 2 are playing Minecraft, and others watching a flick, all while Grandma says, "Shh, Papa's on the air." We run all these devices, and I do a show thanks to my reliable, fast connection. Xfinity Wi-Fi is a game changer. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi on the Xfinity 10G network for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through March 21st, new customers can get started with 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Tim and Amanda.
I don't want to be in the dark about things. I'm sure you don't either, Tim. I mean, I want to know what's going on with the weather. Are my kids safe? You know, where is my money going? I want to be informed.
Yeah, the truth is, it's important information for you and your families to make sure that you are informed so that if some changes are necessary in your life or your children's life, you can make them by listening and starting your morning with us here on KSL.
Wake up with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a man is in police custody after a surveillance camera caught him dumping a woman's dead body near a trash can. Second, a bill in the legislature is looking at easing regulations around public cold plunges. Third, former President Donald Trump is out of court early today after a jury member was reportedly exposed to COVID-19. Right now it's 36 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
Less than a year ago, Utah was all in. It was Team DeSantis.
Maybe it's the little secret, but it might just be that Florida is the Utah of the Southeast. I'm just saying.
In fact, at the Utah Republican Convention, Ron DeSantis nearly doubled Donald Trump in a straw poll. And it was a large survey. Was it 2,300 or so Utah Republicans? 54% said, yeah, we're in favor of Ron DeSantis. 29% said, well, we're on Team Trump.
It was a huge win at the time. County chairs were asked the same question. So this is the Republican leadership in each county. The Deseret News did a poll on this. Half of them wanted Ron DeSantis over Donald Trump. And then the slide. It wasn't a nosedive. This is, I think, what's so interesting about what happened to DeSantis. There was never this huge campaign mistake that just ruins it. He said something outrageous. There was never that. It was just this support that kind of dwindled away slowly but surely. And I'm convinced, I can't remember who made this comparison, but I loved it. I think it describes it so well. People like Classic Coke. Ron DeSantis is New Coke. So if you want Classic Coke, you go with Donald Trump. You like the old flavor. Ron DeSantis was the new flavor, and the branding was a little bit different, but ultimately people are like, I like the original.
Taylor Morgan is the host of KSL at Night on from 7 to 9 weeknights right here on KSL News Radio. He's also a partner at Morgan May Public Affairs here in the Salt Lake City area. And Taylor, from the beginning, I mean, before Ron was even in the race, Utah, top Utah Republicans were sending him a love letter and asking him to please get in the race. I mean, it was dozens. I think it was close to 90 of them had signed that letter. And then when he was here last year, several of them formally endorsed him for the White House. But yet here we are. What happened?
Yeah, here we are, Dave and Debbie. I think that, Ron DeSantis a year ago was seen as a potential Republican presidential nominee that would carry on many of the very popular policies of Donald Trump's first term in the White House. A lot of Republicans really liked Donald Trump's policies. They really liked the economy under Donald Trump. But many Republicans, myself included, to be honest, just had grown incredibly frustrated with the divisiveness of Donald Trump's rhetoric and behavior. And in Ron DeSantis, we saw someone who we thought could capture many of Donald Trump's voters, would implement Donald Trump's policies, but would not open his mouth in such a dangerous way, at least perhaps as often as Donald Trump did. Well, fast forward, David's exactly right. Ron DeSantis, I think, not only branded himself as New Coke, I think Ron DeSantis went full-on Crystal Pepsi and was just so unappealing to so many Republicans that they forgot why they liked him so much in the first place.
Yeah, they fell out of love. It's like the Air Supply song. Wasn't that the song? Like, I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. Well, he got lost along the way somewhere.
It was a good couple dates, and it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't a long-term relationship.
In case you're just joining us and hadn't heard the news over the weekend, Ron DeSantis withdrew from the race for the White House just days before the New Hampshire primary. He did it yesterday.
So, Taylor, I want to go back a little bit to one of the last debates, one of the last things we heard from Ron DeSantis, and he cautioned people about throwing all this support behind Donald Trump.
Democrats want Trump to be the candidate. They are going to talk about all the legal stuff, January 6th. That will be what the election will be about.
And this is exactly what has happened. I don't know if Democrats necessarily love the idea of Donald Trump running again, but Trump has run a very strange campaign. He doesn't show up for debates. He's not on social media. I don't count Truth Social. He spends more time talking about the 2020 election and his legal troubles than he does what the future looks like, but his star keeps rising. Why?
Well, Dave, Donald Trump is a political unicorn. None of the rules apply to Donald Trump. And all of us who follow national politics, presidential politics, we need to stop trying to apply the same old rules and the same old playbook to Donald Trump. Because if anything is clear, it is abundantly clear that none of those rules apply to Donald Trump. He is going to be the Republican Party nominee for president, and it is going to be Trump versus Biden again. And listen, it has been a competitive Republican primary nomination fight. We have had a lot of good candidates, quality candidates. We still have Nikki Haley in this race. I really like Nikki Haley. I think the question is to where Utah Republican support goes. I think it's primarily to Nikki Haley, if not Donald Trump. We'll see a nice split there. But it is inevitable. And we just need to stop expecting Donald Trump to play the game in a conventional way. He never has, and he never will.
Taylor Morgan of KSL at Night, also Morgan May, Public Affairs, a lobbyist on Capitol Hill, joining us live right now with on the heels of the news that Ron DeSantis has withdrawn from the race for the White House. He'll go back to being governor of Florida. Should Republicans be nervous, Taylor? I mean, look, there's already been one matchup. They didn't do so well. A Democrat landed in the White House. So a rematch, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, Debbie, that we are ultimately inevitably headed for a rematch, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. I'm personally very hopeful that that Ambassador Nikki Haley could end up as Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate. I think that would be a Republican ticket that many could feel a little bit better about.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that.
But listen, I think that having this rematch is ultimately where we are headed, and I actually think it could be a good thing. I think it could be a healthy thing for our country to exercise the political demon, so to speak.
How so? Having the rematch?
Yeah, having the rematch. Listen, if Donald Trump is not on the ballot, Dave, that doesn't mean he goes away. He will never go away. So he might as well be on the ballot, and we as Americans should have our say and have that vote. And if we elect Biden over Trump again, I think that is a clear decision. If Donald Trump is put back in the White House, then listen, the good news is term limits.
What about, real quickly before we let you go, what about if he just basically dropped DeSantis's nickname, he said.
He just said, will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said, that name is officially retired.
As DeSantis bows out and then endorses Trump, all is forgiven. What if DeSantis ends up number 2 on the ticket?
I think anything is possible, Debbie. Ron DeSantis dropping out this weekend, I think, was a clear play by Governor DeSantis to salvage some kind of political future within the Republican Party and with Donald Trump. If I'm Donald Trump, I need to find a way to appeal to many of the mainstream Republican voters and many of the unaffiliated Rust Belt voters that I lost to Joe Biden in 2020. And a good way to shore up support among those voters would be to bring in someone from the mainstream of the party, Nikki Haley.
Taylor Morgan, thank you for joining us, host at KSL at Night. We appreciate your time. Thanks, Taylor.
So I wonder if Nikki Haley did eventually bow out. I mean, maybe it's after New Hampshire. Maybe it's a little later down the road. If there would be that same instant sort of like kumbaya, did you call it?
Little kumbaya love fest.
With Haley, because, I mean, clearly she's run a good campaign too, and she has a lot of support. And I'll say this, I'll throw this out there. She's female. She's a strong female. She has experience on the international stage and also experience as governor of a state.
I'll tell you this. She has bent over backwards not to be a harsh critic of Donald Trump. She's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. She has not taken it.
Let's take phone calls. Curious to see how you are reading this. Do you feel like Ron DeSantis backing out, announcing that his campaign is over, at least his quest for the primary nomination for the presidency, the Republican nomination, is this a DeSantis failure? Or do you feel like, Trump is that unicorn? Is he that unicorn? Is he impossible to defeat? So is this a DeSantis failure or a Trump win?
801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. DeSantis failure or Trump win? Is he just the unicorn?
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story, cold plunges are a new topic in Utah's legislature.
A bill proposed by Senator Kurt Bramble would get rid of any power the Department of Health and Human Services has to regulate public cold baths and cold plunges. The department currently regulates water quality and filtration, but Bramble says they should be treated like spas, not public pools. Bramble also says the removal of the regulations doesn't pose any health or safety risks. The cold baths are often used to help with inflammation, circulation, muscle soreness, and metabolism. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
UDOT says their snowplow drivers have cleared roughly 210,000 miles over the past 2 weeks. That's over 12,000 work hours for the drivers. To help provide some perspective, they are just shy of the number of miles it takes to reach the moon. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is moving on from his 2024 presidential dream. Here is ABC News Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Carl.
This was a spectacular failure, one of the greatest in all of American politics. I mean, DeSantis, if you go back to about a year ago, was actually beating Donald Trump in several polls. There was a December 22 poll in the Wall Street Journal that had him up 14 points over Trump. He spent some $150 million if you count all the money from his super PAC, and he did nothing but go down and down and down.
The Florida governor endorsed former President Trump after dropping his bid. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 139 now. That's 0.4%. We're at 38,003. Coming up, we'll see some higher temperatures today. A lot of clouds. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
You're free now. Free to kick back, relax, and stream beyond your wildest dreams.
Rom-coms, slasher comps, space operas, space westerns, cupcake bake-offs on Mars.
Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers who chonk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things.
Bowl of chips on the robo-vacuum.
And master devices that have no business being smart.
Smart forks, smart toothbrushes, smart tortilla makers.
Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability. Service in select locations only.
For over 100 years and 4 generations, my family has provided quality installations from the most well-known brands in the heating and air conditioning industry. Hello, I'm Brian Jackson with Manuel Plumbing and Heating. This winter, Lennox is offering up to $1,500 in rebates for the purchase of a qualifying high-efficiency furnace and AC system. Let one of our knowledgeable sales staff provide a free in-home consultation on what Manuel and Lennox can do for you in your home. Now, this offer is only available till February 2nd, so mention this ad and receive an additional $250 off your system. Call Manuel Plumbing and Heating, 801-262-4671.
Hey folks, it's Doug and Kathy with Window World.
Doug, can you believe it's been 20 years?
What's been 20 years?
Well, since we opened our first Window World store.
That is amazing. Our motto today is the same: quality products, professionally installed, backed up by our awesome warranty.
And our team shares those very same values.
Come see us today. We have stores in Murray and Spanish Fork for your convenience.
Experience the Window World difference. Call 801-281-8111 or visit windowworldutah.com.
And we promise no baloney.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, overall, it's pretty quiet out there. The biggest delays I'm seeing are up in Summit County. This is southbound SR 224 Olympic Parkway approaching the Canyons Ski Resort. Also, Kearns Boulevard as you're headed over to Comstock Drive. When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection. 4 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, Truck Country. See it all, performancebountiful.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now. Today will be cloudy with highs all the way up to 48 degrees. We have a slight chance of rain tomorrow and more of a chance on Thursday. Right now it is 37 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I'm going to chime in a moment where I thought Ron DeSantis really fell down. He struck out looking along the campaign trail. But first, let's take your phone calls. The fact that Ron DeSantis just dropped out of the race, is it a failure on his part, or is this a win for Trump? I mean, is this just show that Trump is the unicorn? 801-575-TALK.
If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory.
We're taking your live phone calls again. The number 801-575-TALK.
This is where I saw it as a DeSantis failure. The problem is we vote so often style over substance. And I think DeSantis has a lot of substance. He's been a governor. He's been a very successful governor in Florida. Florida loves him. He won his last election by 20 points. The first time he won by like 30,000 votes. It was so narrow. It was just brutally narrow. But once Floridians got him for 4 years, they fell in love with him. They love the way he's running the state. But he is not style. He's not quippy. He's not energetic. He doesn't have this sparkling personality that people gravitate to. So I think the biggest problem with Ron DeSantis is we have a hard time looking past the style, despite the fact that there's a lot of substance.
Let's get to the phone calls. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Steve from Orem, is this just a sign that Trump is a forever unicorn, or is this just a flat-out DeSantis debacle?
Well, I actually like DeSantis quite well. He's not a Trump, but I think it's going to help both of them. I think he's going to run in 4 years, and it will help Trump for sure.
Oh, you think DeSantis will be back?
Oh, absolutely. I like him. I agree with Dave. He doesn't have the charisma, but I think he can probably learn it from Trump, probably, and maybe even Nikki Haley for that matter.
It's true. I would definitely say that Nikki Haley has more charisma than Ron DeSantis. In fact, you saw that in the debates. Whenever she got, poked at by Vivek Ramaswamy, he was like singularly focused on attacking Nikki Haley. She always had the great one-liners, coming back. And so, yeah, I would agree. The charisma, much higher for Nikki Haley, Donald Trump. That's why I feel bad for Ron. Good old Ron. I feel bad for him because I disagree. I don't think you can learn charisma. I think you either have it or you don't.
You're either lovable, likable, or you're prickly.
Yeah.
Well, Utah certainly loved him. At least Utah politicians did. Remember, they sent him that love letter even before this all started, asking him to get into the race. And then he paid a couple of visits here as well.
Maybe it's the little secret, but it might just be that Florida is the Utah of the Southeast. I'm just saying.
Now, we haven't polled every single Utah politician in the Republican ranks who threw their support behind Ron DeSantis, either in writing or standing up beside him and endorsing him, personally endorsing him and his campaign in his run for the White House. We don't know who they're going to turn to next, or if they're going to officially back Trump and throw their endorsement behind Trump, or if they're going to wait to see how things go for Haley and end up endorsing her. But I will say this about Ron DeSantis. I think one of his biggest failures to resonate with the American people at a time when we are watching conflicts all over the place happen. We just, with Gaza and Israel, there's the conflict that continues to go on with, of course, Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yes, that is still happening. I think he really failed to resonate with his military service. I follow politics as closely as you do, Dave, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. I do not know exactly what time frame Ron DeSantis served without Googling it. I don't know what his exact role was. I believe he was an attorney. He was with JAG, with the military. But I would have welcomed a potential future leader who has this military experience, because who else? Who else right now? Nikki Haley touts her experience at the United Nations, but I would put military service to the country, volunteering for our country, above her service with the United Nations. I mean, that might be an unpopular opinion, although I don't discount what she did. I think it's incredible, and I think it takes a really strong person to go do that job, and somebody who's knowledgeable and knows how to negotiate and deal with other countries. However, I think that's where Ron DeSantis could have really have done himself a favor and his campaign a favor, is running on that.
He definitely
Run on it.
He retreated when it came to international affairs. Nikki Haley dominated that conversation, completely dominated, and she has a lot of experience. She has a lot of credentials. She knows what she's talking about. She did very well.
Why do you think Ron was so kind of shady about it?
It was very clear. He does not want to focus on international affairs. He wanted to focus on domestic affairs. So he was talking about the border. He was talking about homelessness. He was talking about all the things that are within the borders of the United States. And that was very, very clear. Whenever the conversation expanded outside of our borders, he did not lean into that. That is exactly where Nikki Haley leaned into. It made her look very presidential, because that's one of the biggest roles of the president, is to manage the international affairs of the world. That was not where Ron DeSantis leaned into. It was almost him acting as a governor, where you can just focus on your state and ignore every other state. That's what he did. He was focusing on America within our borders, ignoring everything else.
Great take, Dave. We're going to continue to watch this. Of course, the New Hampshire primaries tomorrow. Boyd Matheson in studio with us in the 11 o'clock hour to give us his full analysis of what lies ahead for Nikki Haley and for former President Donald Trump. Next, we still have our eye on the Hill, of course. This is week 2 of the legislative session, and they're taking up some really hot topics like cold plunging. Yeah, I don't know what cold plunging is. It is a hot trend in Utah County in particular, and in my own backyard. Dave's like, what are you doing?
You're a crazy person.
You cold plunge? So I'm really interested to see why the Utah legislature is wading into cold plunging. We'll have a live conversation next with a lawmaker who's, heading this up.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Congressman John Curtis. I'm sure you've heard that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state. We're strong and we're optimistic. I hope you'll come say hi on Monday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have J-Dogs, Twisted Sugar Cookies, and great company. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. This Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate. As your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. See you Monday.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
It's the question that's been on everybody's mind, and it's about to be answered. When will Gillette Heating and Air offer plumbing services?
You want to know?
Yeah! The answer is now. To celebrate, Gillette is offering a free tankless water heater when you buy a high-efficiency heating and cooling system. For a limited time while supplies last, call Gillette today for heating, AC, and now plumbing. Call 385-GET-HEAT.
Carrier, turn to the experts. Experience the fast action fun and thrilling competition of ISU World Cup Speed Skating at the Utah Olympic Oval, January 26 through 28. Cheer on Team USA's Olympians, including Beijing 2022 gold medalist Aaron Jackson, as they race against the world's top speed skating athletes from China, Canada, the Netherlands, Japan, and more on the fastest ice on earth. Tickets for ISU World Cup Speed Skating are available now at UtahOlympicLegacy.org.
Tired of living in your parents' basement or renting? You want to buy a home, but you were told that your debt-to-income ratio is too high. This is why you need a highly qualified mortgage lender. Rick at Loans by Rick has 22 years of experience and has helped hundreds of clients lower their debt-to-income so they can make the most important purchase of their lives and buy a home. As with any profession, there are different levels of mortgage lenders, so why not work with the best lender? One that can cut through the mortgage jungle and get you into a home. As interest rates come down, home values will go up, creating multiple offers which will raise home values higher. Don't wait to buy a home. Buy now. You can always refinance later and save hundreds of dollars. Let Loans by Rick guide you with your mortgage process. Call 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com. That's loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
This is Congressman John Curtis. I'm sure you've heard that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state. We're strong and we're optimistic. I hope you'll come say hi on Monday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have J-Dogs, Twisted Sugar Cookies, and great company. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. This Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate. As your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. See you Monday.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, fewer jobs are being posted online, and it's getting harder to find employment on sites designed to make it easy. Second, the Cedar City School exposed to carbon monoxide moved to virtual learning for the next couple of days as they try to figure out what happened. Third, a resolution condemning communism and socialism is being proposed this legislative session. Right now it's cloudy and 37 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I told Dave I'm a cold plunger. And he's like, what?
What is wrong with you? I am going to torture myself by dipping myself in this ice cold freezing water.
I had no idea that Utah's Capitol Hill is wading into this growing trend. It's huge apparently in Utah County. And in fact, I was speaking to a woman this weekend from Utah County. She was talking just briefly about cold plunging. And I said, I do it in my backyard. If you don't know what cold plunging is, you're going to learn. Don't worry. You came to the right place. But we're also got our eye on the Hill in all seriousness because Utah's Capitol Hill is wading into a discussion as to whether these cold plunge baths should be regulated like swimming pools.
Number one, you don't wade into those things. you just drop straight in. Like you got to rip that Band-Aid off.
Okay, don't. Have you done it?
No.
Okay, you don't drop straight in.
You don't drop straight in?
There's a secret sauce. I'm going to tell you what it is in a moment. But Deseret News is Lisa Riley Roche, who covers the Capitol Hill for the D News. Had this headline caught our attention and then did a full story on it. Should cold plunge tubs be regulated in Utah? And there was a co-owner of a sauna and cold plunge wellness facility in Utah County who was on Capitol Hill last week. And she said, look, it's helped her with her multiple sclerosis. It's like 3 minutes in cold water. She feels like it's really improved her health. She owns this center that offers this. And it sounds as though, do we have Senator Bramble on the line? We're going to get Senator Curtis Bramble on the line. He lives in Utah County. This was brought to his attention. And so he's stepping into this and it sounds as though the health departments, or maybe they feel like they need to regulate these as they do swimming pools, like county pools that our kids swim in. And there's been some discussion on Capitol Hill as to whether that should happen or not.
Okay, so let me go back to your cold plunge situation. How regulated is it?
Very unregulated.
Very unregulated.
It's okay. So my daughter, my 24-year-old daughter, she comes home one day and she says that she's done these cold plunges and she likes them. And she wants me, of course, to buy a cold plunge bath. And I go on to Walmart or Amazon or something like that, and they're about $75 or $100. So this is not like it's like a kiddie swimming pool. And by the way, if you have little kids, I wouldn't suggest you fill one of these up at all and leave it out there all winter long, because it's dangerous, right? I mean, water's dangerous around kids if it's left unattended. So imagine like a really tall kiddie swimming pool.
Is it like a barrel?
You were at my house the other day. I'm surprised you didn't see it. It's right in the patio.
Mm-mm.
You were eyeing the patio. I should have pointed it out to you. You might have thought it was a little weird. Is it like a barrel? Yeah, it's kind of like a barrel.
Okay.
Perfect. But it's collapsible. And we fill it up with water, and I think she might add ice to it as well. And then we're always together when we do this. Don't do it alone. Because my read of this is that, now I haven't called the doctor or anything, and nor am I a doctor, so I'm just reading from Forbes Health, okay? ForbesHealth.com here. That there are risks involved with this, like hypothermia, of course, right? It's cold. It's really, really cold. I think ours is below 50 degrees. Or, you are gasping for air as you're going in, and it's very slow. You submerge yourself very, very slowly, and it gives you I want to say it gives me like an energy dump or an adrenaline dump.
Okay.
And you go in slowly, and then
It's your body fighting for life, by the way, but that's fine. You're like, I don't know. My body just feels invigorated because it's like, don't go toward the light. Hang on. You know that's what it is.
Okay.
I can't imagine why I'm having such a dramatic response.
Then we pick our favorite songs, Dave, that are about 2.5, 3 minutes in length, and we listen to the song. And we do so when we're submerged, not all the way. You don't go all the way under. We just go up to our shoulders. I hope we're doing it right. Seems like we are. We're both fine. I really like it. I don't do it often. Want to do it more often in 2024. But it does it. Maybe it does make you feel like you're empowered or something like that, to just like, hey, I just got out of this cold plunge. But there are people who firmly believe that there is some sort of health benefit to this. Now, I don't know for sure. But there has been some questions as to whether these should be regulated at all. Curtis Bramble, Senator out of Utah County, live on the line. Oh, my goodness. Thanks for joining. Did you just get out of your cold plunge, Senator?
No, I just got off I-15.
Okay.
I'm late to the Capitol.
Oh, sorry. We won't keep you long. So tell us,
No.
what's the deal with this regulation?
So, cold plunge, the small one-person cold plunge equipment, our statutes are silent on how they should be regulated. And so the departments of health, both county and state, have had no option but to regulate them like swimming pools. Some operators of cold plunges, they do fit more the model of a swimming pool. They're for 6, 8, 10 people in a cold plunge. But what we're exempting in this bill are the small individual cold plunge prefabricated tanks. They come with refrigeration units. They come with sanitation filters and such, and they don't fit the regulatory structure of a swimming pool. That's really what this bill is all about.
So I guess my concern whenever we hear about, is this regulating or deregulating? How would you define that?
Well, right now, the Department of Health has a rule on cold plunges because the statutes are silent. And the problem with simply striking the rule, we could go to the Administrative Rules Review Committee. I chair that committee, and we could not reauthorize the rule. But the problem is it would take too broad of a stroke. So what this bill is very specific. It's limited to the size, the number of gallons. It's limited to temperature. And it is exempting these prefab cold plunge tanks from Department of Health swimming pool regulations is what it's doing.
So the larger tanks, though, that fit 6 or 8 people, would be regulated, but the small one wouldn't be. Okay.
That is correct.
Well, that sounds simple enough.
And we've worked with the Department of Health. They understood probably 6 months ago, we opened dialogue with the State Department of Health and the county departments of health. And the challenge is many of the counties said, we agree we are not going to enforce this rule against these small self-contained individual cold plunges. But if you're a business, it's very difficult to make an investment in the capital, in the equipment and the facilities based on we won't enforce this rule, trust us. And where it was silent, we wanted to give statutory clarity. That's really what's going on.
Senator Kurt Bramble, thank you.
Gotta love it when legislation is simple and easy for us to understand. I mean, that is just as simple as can be. The smaller ones won't be regulated, the one person's cold plunges, but the larger ones.
Do you ever clean out your cold plunge, or do you
Yeah.
Like, is it every time? I don't know how often.
Yeah, before we use it, we clean it out, and then it has a lid on it too.
So I wonder if that's what the pros are doing, if they're cleaning it out every time, or if they're just like, next person in, dip away.
Straight ahead, keeping an eye still on Capitol Hill, it looks like Utah's child-proof social media law is going on pause, which is a far cry from what the governor was saying last year.
I'm not going to back down from a potential legal challenge when these companies are killing our kids.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top story this hour. Provo lawmaker Representative Tyler Clancy says he wants to beef up Utah's mental health care infrastructure. The way to pay for it? Sell the Utah State Hospital.
The vision is to have a state mental hospital in southern, central, and northern Utah.
And Clancy acknowledges the land where the hospital now stands in East Provo has tremendous value, but also that critics thinks this is a land grab by developers.
I mean, I kind of scratch my head and say, well, how are we going to come up with close to $1 billion of ongoing funding that we'll need to build the mental health infrastructure that we need?
His bill has not yet come to a vote. Salt Lake City man is in police custody after a woman's body was found next to a dumpster. Unified Police say surveillance camera footage from a nearby business shows that 46-year-old Fred Edwards was trying to dispose of the body. The initial investigation is pointing to a domestic violence murder. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A day before tomorrow's primary vote in New Hampshire, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley focused her message at a campaign event on her remaining Republican opponent, former President Trump.
When you hear Trump speak, what's he talking about? Grievances? The past? He's talking about vendettas?
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has ended his campaign and endorsed Trump. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average right now up 143 points on the day, while the NASDAQ is up 74 points right now. And our KSL weather, kind of cloudy and a little showery. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey folks, it's Doug and Kathy with Window World.
Doug, can you believe it's been 20 years?
What's been 20 years?
Well, since we opened our first Window World store.
That is amazing. Our motto today is the same: quality products, professionally installed, backed up by our awesome warranty.
And our team shares those very same values.
Come see us today. We have stores in Murray and Spanish Fork for your convenience.
Experience the Window World difference. Call 801-281-8111 or visit windowworldutah.com.
And we promise no baloney.
If you are having difficulty, My Hearing Centers can fit you with a high-tech digital hearing aid that's powerful, barely noticeable, and that in some cases can help you hear better than a person with perfect hearing. Plus, many of My Hearing Centers hearing aids are Bluetooth compatible and rechargeable. If you already have a hearing aid, but it's 3 years old or older, you owe it to yourself to check out the latest technology from My Hearing Centers. To learn more, call My Hearing Centers at 801-438-7058. That's 801-438-7058.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night, too. Did you have a clue?
No, but you know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, it's really quiet out there. Really, the only delays I'm seeing right now are up in Summit County. We're seeing a little slowing southbound on SR 224 approaching the canyons, and then SR 248 Kearns Boulevard making your way into Park City. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare and human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy with mild temperatures and a chance of showers Tuesday and Thursday. Today's high 48, 45 tomorrow, 42 on Wednesday. Lows stay above freezing. And right now, we're at 37 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, it's a bold new social media law supposed to take effect in just a matter of weeks on March 1st, designed to child-proof, essentially, social media. It's now on hold. And just very quick, and I thought was a surprising move last week. Lawmakers pushed through a pause to put it on hold until October 1st, and the governor signed it. Signed it on Friday, got a notification he'd signed it, which is... This seems like a far different cry than what we've heard from the governor in the past.
I'm not going to back down from a potential legal challenge when these companies are killing our kids.
That is such a bold statement from the governor. And I know he's so passionate. He's talked about it a million times. One of the struggles we have right now in Utah is we were the first through the wall. We were the first state trying to do something like this, make radical changes, require age verification. So we're not exactly sure what we're doing because we've never seen anyone do it successfully beforehand. So I can't say I'm totally surprised that we needed a delay because they've been pretty open about this. Like, we're not quite sure what we're doing. We're going to sue everybody. They said that in their initial press conference. They're like, who are you going to sue? We're suing everybody. So they're not exactly sure what they're going to do. They're trying to almost like learn the rules as they play.
So you started down this road. I'm going to go a little deeper down the road so we all remember what this law would have done on March 1st when it took effect. Again, it's going to take effect now on October 1st, we think. It would have, like I said, child-proof social media, making everybody age verified, not just kids. But kids would have to have their parents' permission and be age verified before they could launch an account.
Can I just add a little something
certainly
to that as well? Social media companies already have some age limits. Like, you can't join Instagram until you're 13 or Snapchat until. So there are already some things in place from the social media companies. The problem is, all you have to do is just make up a date and you can have an account. There's no age verification right now. They just ask you, hey, pinky promise that you're 13.
Yeah. This law would also restrict kids from using it in the overnight hours without mom's and dad's permission. So there would be a curfew that they'd have to abide by unless the parents lifted that curfew. And then also restricts direct messaging. Like the private messaging feature. If I guess, I don't know if you can roll that back if you want to have DMs or not, but it would restrict direct messaging, which we know a lot of creeps use to contact our kids. We've known that for a long time over social media and their direct messages. Now, the governor, to your point, Dave, has been pushing for the better part of a year and has largely been pushing this because he's recognizing and he's seeing the studies coming out the impact that it's having on our kids.
If that means we have to put some things into place to make a change, even if it disrupts their model. By the way, where they are making copious amounts of money off of our kids, their data and their algorithms, it's unconscionable.
And if you're wondering how they're making money off of our kids, it's because of the advertising that goes along with it. Advertisers love being able to advertise to a bunch of kids, of course. That makes a ton of sense. But we have to balance this with the protections.
Now, with this law came lawsuits. So there's a group suing on behalf of residents, a small group suing on behalf of residents here in the state, who allege that this new law restricts their freedom of speech. And then this tech industry group is also suing, saying, and at some point, Greg, this tech industry made what I thought was a pretty valid argument in a news release that I saw, which is like there's already these features in place where parents can regulate and watch over and monitor their kids' social media. And they're suing the state too. And I know the state's involved in lawsuits. So this is a legal mess. It is just it's just a ball of twine right now, and it's all like, I don't know, it's all snarled up, Greg. So this move by the governor, let's start there, to put this and the legislature to put this law on pause. How do you read that?
I read it exactly in light of what you just said, Debbie, that there's a little bit of a legal mess right now. We're not sure what's going to happen. The law was written last year. There are lawsuits going both ways. And, of course, the law was almost certainly going to be stayed anyway, be the subject of what we've come to know pretty well in the state recently as these preliminary injunctions. So the governor and the legislature have said, look, the legislature is in session right now. This law was supposed to go into effect March 1st. Let's readdress the law. Let's see what we can do about fixing the law during the current legislative session, and then have the law, the tweaked version, the different version, the amended version, go into effect in October, because it just has too many loose ends. And it's some of the things you guys have talked about, which is, parental control, age verification, the fact that they're using these kids, the information that they're obtaining and the things they're looking at to create algorithms so they could target them on certain areas. But the law was certainly well thought out, but maybe the implementation wasn't. And I think that they just want to take a step back, see where we are, and see if we can draft a new, more sort of a lawsuit-proof law, if that's possible, and have it enacted by October.
Has it forced the social media companies to come to the bargaining table or to try to create solutions? Or is this just one of those things that their legal team over at Google or Instagram or Facebook just says, just put it on the pile?
Oh, I think that the social media companies are taking this very seriously, Dave, and I think it's because Utah's not the first and absolutely won't be the only state to do this. And if Utah's case works out well for the state, you can bet there'll be 49 other laws passed throughout the country to address this issue. So social media companies want to be on top of it. I'm sure they're tickled that it's not going into effect until October, so that they can have their input into making the changes. And I think social media companies recognize all the problems that we've talked about on this show for months now, that these social media platforms are causing our young people in terms of health issues, suicide issues, mental health issues, and something needs to be done. So, yes, I think they're taking this very seriously, and my guess is that there will be some level of compromise. Whether it's enough to get it settled, I don't know. But, yeah, I think both sides are going to come to the table here.
Greg, before we let you go, we've said that lawsuits are going both ways over this social media law. And by the way, if you're just joining us, the governor signed legislation late last week just putting the social media law that would require age verification for kids and probably for everybody on pause until October 1st. And some of these social media companies have argued that, look, there's there are restrictions, parental restrictions already on our apps. How much weight does that hold once a lawsuit like this gets to court or gets before a jury? Is that they've already put these in place? I knew about these when my daughter was signing up for Instagram back in, I think, when she was 13 or 14 years old. I knew about parental restrictions because I looked into them and I implemented them.
But you're the exception to the rule, Debbie. And a lot of parents, and I think the legislature recognizes that a lot of parents just aren't enforcing that. And they're hoping that the state will come in and do what they should be doing, which is regulating their children's access to social media, because you can blame the state and say, hey, the government has asked that we regulate what's going on here, because parents just aren't doing it. They're just not. And I think that there's a real recognition of that.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, thank you.
Thanks, Greg. We'll continue to follow that. The latest developments. I know there's a hearing as well this afternoon. I'm sure we'll be covering that in court because of one of these lawsuits is now on the docket. So keep it right here. We'll bring you the latest on the developments of this. Dave and I feel like I struck out looking last week. Maybe Dave doesn't feel the same way, but we're taking another turn at bat today. So it turns out the Oakland A's are eyeing the new Daybreak baseball stadium, not Smith's Ballpark downtown. We've got more on that straight ahead, but don't get sad yet, Salt Lake City. It could be that the Bees will stay at least for a little while at Smith's Ballpark and play on that 1300 South Ballpark for the next few years. All this for the Oakland A's. We're going to sort it all out straight ahead. But the Oakland A's, most of us know that baseball team for one of the best movies of all time, Moneyball.
There are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's us.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Utah lawmakers are officially in session. State leaders will debate bills that impact your taxes, our schools, and how we live our lives. Get updates on new bills in the morning and discussion and analysis all day today. Eye on the Hill 2024
on KSL News Radio.
Guess what my latest electrical problem is, Debbie?
Oh, no.
I have like 9 fluorescent lights in my garage. None of them are working. Like there's 2 that flicker on every once in a while, but it's been a disaster. It frustrates me so much when I have electrical problems because it's the one area where I am not comfortable doing it myself.
Don't touch. You got to call Master Electrical. Master Electrical can help you with any electrical problem that you have, Dave. Or maybe you want to add lights like to that living space. It is lamp only right now. You got to put some nice new ceiling lights, can lights, recessed lighting there. Master Electrical has upfront pricing. I think you're really going to love their upfront pricing guarantee because the price that they quote you upfront is the price that you pay when the job is done.
Yeah, that's fantastic because so often when you're doing the bid process, they'll come in, they'll say, oh, I can knock that out in 2 hours. It'll cost you this. But the hourly bids can be problematic because if they run into a little bit of a hiccup or it goes longer, well, then that bid means nothing. It's going to cost you a lot more.
And your luck, Dave, because I know we all know you live in Kaysville. Or Master Electrical proudly serves all kinds of communities from Logan to Santa Quin. So that means they'll come to Kaysville too.
Yeah, even for emergency services, give them a call, 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Or you can check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them. Check it out. That's beautiful. I posted every new fire pit design, and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Congressman John Curtis. I'm sure you've heard that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state. We're strong and we're optimistic. I hope you'll come say hi on Monday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have J-Dogs, Twisted Sugar Cookies, and great company. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. This Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate. As your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. See you Monday.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the state legislature from Provo says the land where the current state hospital is located could help fund a whole new mental health treatment system. Second, the Utah Senate could take up a couple of controversial bills today that the Senate passed last week. And third, the New Hampshire Republican presidential primary down to two candidates now, Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. Right now, 37 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. The D2 follow-up report. We stay connected to important stories to give you the latest.
Full stop. The Oakland A's do not appear to be eyeballing Smith Ballpark downtown. Instead, they are eyeing the new Daybreak Baseball Stadium. Dave and I up to bat once again today, taking another swing at this story.
I'm afraid we're losing a little bit of the story here. Can't see the forest from the trees because who cares where they're playing? The idea is the Oakland A's, as they're waiting to move into their new stadium in Las Vegas, could be playing baseball, Major League Baseball, here in Utah while their stadium gets finished. That is unbelievable news. I don't care if they're playing in my small little ballpark, in Kaysville.
Forget
the
that
fact
big
they're
contest.
coming here.
Forget that big contest we had to decide what to do with Smith's Ballpark, right? It may be that the Bees will buy some more time at the Smith's Ballpark field on 13 South there and continue to play there for a while. While the A's occupy the new Daybreak Stadium that's under construction right now. So it suddenly Utah's become a lot about baseball. Think about it. 1 year ago, the Bees announced they're leaving the downtown vicinity for South Jordan. South Jordan breaks ground on its new stadium. Then last week, it's announced the A's may actually occupy the Bees stadium that's under construction in South Jordan, and that the Bees may actually stay at Smith's Ballpark. All the while, let's not forget, there's this talk of this MLB franchise expansion, possibly moving somewhere on the west side along North Temple. Gail Miller and company made that announcement last year.
There are a number of compelling reasons about why our family and a number of incredible friends and partners have joined together in a coalition to bring Major League Sports baseball to Utah.
All right. So then last week on The Zone, they asked Steve Starks, the CEO of the Miller Group, who said,
"We have not heard definitively from them a timeline. We know that obviously there were two situations that they wanted to resolve. We've said that publicly, but they've not stated when expansion will formally kick off. And we continue to enjoy our discussions and relationship building with them. And they know how prepared we are as a market. And we continue to make plans and further those plans on the Power District."
And the idea that the Oakland A's could temporarily move here for 2 or 3 seasons while their stadium gets finished is an incredible opportunity for Utah to showcase that we're ready for a Major League Baseball team.
Amanda Covington, Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at Larry H. Miller Company. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited for all of these scenarios, but it does, there are some moving parts here. So what can you fill us in on with the Major League Baseball expansion beyond what Steve told The Zone last week?
Yeah. Hi, Dave. Hi, Debbie. It's so great to be with you today. And what exciting news. First of all, I have to tell you, you have all the moving pieces exactly right. So incredible journalism there and able to track all of the things.
Well, I love baseball too, Amanda. As you know, I love baseball too. So, we did our homework on this. So where are we at?
Yeah, this is really exciting. And I might just back up a bit and talk about the A's and how important that is in the broader scope of looking at MLB expansion. Because first of all, as you have both stated, Utah is MLB ready. Our constituents, the people who live here, our leaders, our business community are all united around the Larry H. Miller Company and the Miller family bringing an MLB expansion team to Utah. And that momentum continues. We work hard at it every single day. And Steve did say we don't have a specific timeline, but we do know there are some things that MLB looks toward to award a team for an expansion market. And so those are the things we're working on. We're working on economic feasibility and understanding that, yes, Utah can support a major league team and will enthusiastically do so. We know that we have a preferred site. The Power District, as you mentioned, on the west side of Salt Lake City, right there along North Temple and I-80 and Redwood Road, is a perfect location from a geographic and infrastructure standpoint as well. It's a beautiful and vibrant community that we want to continue to invest in and create some catalytic lift for. And then you look at the fact that we have, legislative and decision maker support. Tomorrow at the Senate floor at 11:20, there's a time certain consideration for a resolution there from Senator Fillmore and Representative Wilcox and Representative Hollins that will show the state's enthusiasm for MLB. So all of those pieces are moving, and we continue to stay invested as they go. And then we're also committed to work on that Power District development to really create a sports and entertainment anchored area that will have residential, retail, restaurants, commercial, and really be a complement to the Jordan River there in activating that as a great open space, as well as the State Fair Park. And so you can start to see a 365-day-a-year experience.
I don't have any power whatsoever, but if it were me, I give you a blank check to everything. Everything you want to do, I love all of this. But one of the questions I have with this idea that Oakland may come and look for another place to play while their stadium gets built, was there any explanation of why they just don't renew their lease at the Oakland Coliseum? I mean, wouldn't that just be the easiest solution?
Yeah, I mean, those are all really great questions and ones that I'm not the best person to speak to in terms of their conversations with Oakland. But I can tell you that as we visited with them last Thursday and we took them out to Daybreak, they were able to see the work that we're doing on the new ballpark there. There was a lot of excitement, one, just about the enthusiasm of Utah and the support we have from the top all the way to your youth baseball player, right? I mean, everybody here is excited for that. I think what you'll see, too, is that stadium design that we have out at downtown Daybreak, as we were designing it for the Bees, we've taken a very innovative and fast-moving approach to create something that would really flex for the A's when they come to town. And one thing to consider, I'm sure you guys are experienced with the Waste Management Open and what they do around that 16th hole. We've engaged with the same architects and designers to do something very similar here, where we can absolutely flex up and create a world-class experience for fans should the A's decide to make Daybreak their temporary home.
Amanda, if the A's did decide to make it their temporary home, when would that start? And then would there have to be an expansion to the number of seats to that stadium, at least temporarily?
Yes. So they would play, if they agree to come here, it would be 25, 26, and 27 seasons. And it would be 81 games a season there. So it's in the near term. Speaking to the ballpark itself, we're well underway on our construction and design. South Jordan City has been absolutely incredible to work with as we've been working on the ballpark. And we know that Mayor Ramsey and her team will be incredible partners as we look to increase that capacity. The design, as I mentioned, is incredibly innovative. And I'd encourage any of your listeners, if you haven't watched the Waste Management Open on TV, maybe Google it and take a look at their 16th hole. Those are some of the innovative concepts we'd be applying to the ballpark to flex it from, fixed seating. Or initial design was 7,500 seats, but we would take that up to 11,500 seats with additional capacity, so you could have seating and standing on the berm, et cetera, take that up to 12,000 fans.
All right. This is very exciting news. Amanda Covington, thank you for joining us.
I have to ask her one thing. Amanda, are they talking about at least temporarily changing their name at all to reflect it. It's going to still be the Oakland A's playing in Daybreak, Utah. You have to put that on the list of things to talk to them about.
We'll have the Salt Lake City A's and the Salt Lake City Bees. We'll be set.
There you go. There you go. Well, we are open to whatever they want to do, but most of all, we want to be the best host, and we know we can do that with our history here in Utah as being a great state of sport. So we're ready to go.
Thanks, Amanda.
Appreciate it. And that would start in short order. And it sounds like the Bees would stay
25,
yeah,
26, and 27.
It's just around the corner.
It is right around the corner.
And there would be plenty of seats. Right? You think it's still too small?
It's way too small. The average Major League Baseball stadium will have about 25 to 30,000 fans, and we're talking about 11 or 12 with standing room on the berm. So, listen, and you're not trying to make this a Major League Baseball stadium. It's just the point I'm making is it's far smaller than what the crowds are used to seeing or what we would expect to see if we were to have an expansion team here in Utah. So it's a great temporary fix. I fully endorse it. I love the idea, but it's still a tiny stadium for a big team.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Two of the most talked about bills in the Utah legislature this year are set to be heard by Senate committees this afternoon. These are the so-called transgender bathroom bill and a bill involving diversity initiatives at state colleges and universities. Senate President Stuart Adams says handling these bills first doesn't necessarily mean they're more important than other bills the legislature will take up this year.
There's more work to do, and sometimes these issues actually make the end of the process more difficult. It doesn't matter whether we pass them at the beginning or the end. Everybody talks about, whether the process was right, and I actually favor this process. So the session, we can move on and deal with other issues.
Those other issues include passing the state's budget with a tight deadline of midnight on March 1st. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The judge in former President Trump's defamation case has adjourned for a couple of days after concerns that a juror and an attorney may have been separately exposed to COVID-19. Here's ABC's Aaron Katursky.
A juror on his way to court informed the judge that he wasn't feeling well, and so the judge told that juror to go home and take a COVID test. Simultaneous to that, defense attorney Alina Habba said one or both of her parents had COVID. She was exposed to them at a dinner 3 days ago. So the judge called off the trial for the day, instructed everybody to go home and take COVID tests and report back.
The jury in the case is deciding how much money writer E. Jean Carroll should get for defamation. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 132 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up about 69 points. And our KSL weather, cloudy, misty, maybe a little rainy over a couple of days. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:33.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Have you heard about the huge clearance sale at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo? It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina. Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Huge January savings on Bernina's special edition 770QE and 570QE CAFE machines that include a free embroidery module and free gifts.
Purchase the L890 Serger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
Unlimited supply. These machines won't last.
Dave's Bernina has incredible deals on school machine buybacks during the sale.
Starting at $499, plus super deals on floor models and trade-ins.
From everyday sewing tasks to artistic designs, count on Dave's Bernina. In business since 1960, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years,
Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics.
Sadly, both political parties are more interested in scoring political points than they are solving the American people's problems. They're playing a zero-sum game, and it's not zero-sum. It's everybody coming together. We have to come together. Compromise has integrity. That's a big part of what's going wrong in our nation's capital and in many conversations around the country.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, overall, it's pretty quiet out there. They are working on the clearing stages of a crash at 3900 South, 13th East. You're going to see some blocking as you're headed eastbound on 3900 South. With fresh snow comes fresh tracks at Murdoch Hyundai. Right now, save 3%. Receive 0% for 3 years on the Tucson, or Santa Fe. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy with mild temperatures and a chance of showers Tuesday and Thursday. Today's high 48, 45 tomorrow. Lows will stay above freezing. And right now we're looking at 40 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
This is right from corporate headquarters at Walmart. It says, store managers, we're investing in you. And I think that is 100% true. They are now announcing at Walmart that they're going to start paying their store managers a new average salary of almost $130,000 a year.
Save money, live better. Walmart.
Yeah, that's my. Store managers would be like, yeah, I'll be living better.
I'll tell you this: Walmart has been a punching bag.
Yes.
For a long time.
Uh-huh.
Kind of that guilty pleasure, something you don't want to admit to, like, oh, I bought this at Walmart, or we badmouth it because they don't pay their employees enough. I look at a store manager making $130,000 a year, and there's bonuses on top of that.
Oh, you're right. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's get to the bonuses in a second. You just shouted it out in the commercial break. I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot about the bonus. That's even better than the base pay. So they made this announcement late last week, and the average across the nation will be $117K a year. But they're going to these raises are going to be about 9% raises from where they're at right now. It kicks in on February 1st, so they're not waiting around. The company told CNN that it hasn't made changes to store managers' pay in more than a decade. So before we celebrate the $128,000 a year, during the pandemic, they didn't get an adjustment. During this high inflation that we've all been dealing with and screaming about, they haven't gotten an adjustment. So the managers are due, and they're probably even behind because they haven't been getting pay increases over the years. But it did when I saw that headline, it did make me think: do we give? And I thought this from a parent's perspective, from being a mom. Okay, am I the first one to say, "Oh my goodness, why are you going to go to work at Walmart? Come on, you could do better." And I need to open my mind because Walmart does have a pay structure that would get our kids to over $100,000 a year in income. Plus, get this, Dave, you announced in the commercial break what their bonuses would be. Remind me.
200% of your base salary.
Yeah.
So if you're
An
making
annual
130, that means you could be making nearly $400,000.
That's an annual bonus. I suppose.
And you got to hit all the sales
Yeah.
targets, and it
Right.
depends on performance, all of that good stuff. But yeah, that's massive amounts of money. And I think where I really started looking differently at big old bad Walmart, and by the way, there's about 5,000 Walmart stores across the country.
So you could transfer.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
mobility.
Yeah,
you can
sure,
bounce
totally,
around.
right.
Was when we saw, and we did a story on this, is how much they were paying their truck drivers.
Oh, that's right.
It was $90,000.
That was a couple years ago we did that
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, I think that was even pre-COVID. I don't know what they're making now, but there are jobs out there working for the quote unquote working for the man, where
Sam,
you can make enormous amounts of money, like a very good living.
Yeah.
The average, remember, in Utah, to really put it in perspective, in Utah, the average family is making $82,000. That's with two incomes, usually a full-time income and then a part-time income. But the average here in Utah is making $82,000 a year. Now, does it change the way you look at working for Walmart? If you could top out at $130,000 or $400,000.
Well, I kind of grew up in a culture, and I worked in retail for a lot of years, different retail settings, but where you could never make any money. Or here's the other downside of retail is you got to be there on, Christmas Eve until the last customer leaves at 8:30 because they were the worst procrastinator in the world. So the hours are not the greatest. But it's not like I'm in a profession, the news business, where there were set hours anyway, right? I mean, I'm working nights and weekends and overnights and out of town and in town. When I was a kid looking at careers, I didn't think of these places as big money earners, but I also looked at them as like really weird and hard hours. And I ended up getting into a career with a lot of difficult hours anyway. But this did make me think when it comes to my kids and when they ask me for advice, are we overlooking jobs when we recommend jobs to them or just give them an idea that would make sense for them and actually put them in a financially stable situation? For example, Target. I'm looking at Retail Dogma, Retail Education and Training Solutions, and they're listing the highest paid store manager jobs. Target, $112,000 a year. Macy's, the department store, almost like $108,000 a year. The Home Depot, $103,000 a year.
And when you look at those numbers and you think, okay, well, how many of these people started working as a cashier or a teller or some sort of associate, where you can kind of see the growth from the ground up. I think all too often we look at some of these jobs as dead-end jobs.
That's how I saw it.
Like, this
That's
is
a
my
good way to
part-time
describe
job.
it, yeah.
This has no future
It's
in
my
it.
college job.
Exactly. It's my college job. My kids are working at a restaurant right now. They're servers. But I don't think they're legitimately thinking, oh, I wonder if I could manage one of these stores. If I could grow within the business, I learn it from the ground up. I know every aspect of it. And this is what my future and my career looks like. And we move around in the jobs that we have so easily. We change careers. We have a term for it, the Great Resignation. During COVID, everybody left their job and grabbed a new career. But I think there's something to be said if you have a job, maybe a starter job, so to speak, with the goal of working your way up to the top. That used to be standard in my parents' days. Like, they would do that all the time. You would be with a company for 40 years. You start off low, you work your way up, and then you're running the place.
And you know the business then.
Inside and out.
And you also know the hardships that the new employees that are just starting out are facing, so you can relate to them.
I think
and
we've
they
lost
love
some
you
of
for
that.
it.
I think we've lost some of that.
Well, I'm at fault for that to some degree because I've told my kids, oh, you've got to. I mean, when are you going to run for president? I mean, when are you going to be doing brain surgery on those? Like I feel like I have really influenced my kids to look beyond, if you will, the Walmarts of the world. And then I'm seeing this, and this plops in my lap, and I'm like, well, that was foolish, Deb.
And there's a great
That's
job
foolish.
right in front of your face.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. In fact, I had this very conversation, not about Walmart, but about another sales opportunity with my oldest daughter the other day. I was sitting in a parking lot, and she can sell anything. She is an incredible salesperson. And I said, hey, you know, you've been selling things, and it's things that are hard to sell. What if you sold cars? Honestly, we need more women in the car industry. I just bought a car, thought when I was in there, it would be lovely to have more women in this space and in this field, and you would be amazing at it. And that was really the first time ever that I've had that kind of conversation, besides like, why don't you go back to college and get another degree and pursue something? Maybe you'd be a great CPA or something. Why don't you just go sell cars?
Yeah.
Or why don't you go to work for Walmart? My goodness, $130,000 a year and a 200% bonus. Now, it might take you some time to work your way up the line, but you can do it. You can set your mind to it. Should we take live phone calls, Dave?
Yeah, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK.
Oh,
I thought, should we have a question out there for folks?
You know, as parents, should we be giving the Walmarts of the world a shot when we're talking to our kids about their future and job opportunities? Should we give the Walmarts of the world a shot? Come on, Mom and Dad, give us a live phone call, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Look forward to having you join the conversation.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
Tim and Amanda.
Yes, KSL is a trusted institution. I mean, it's a 100-year-old institution, and I know that with that legacy comes a responsibility and a trust. But I want you to know, we have diverse voices at this radio station. Young people, we have people of all different ages, of all different cultural backgrounds, who put their 2 cents into what stories we cover from day to day. We also are young in terms of our employees.
Well, I've been kicking around the Salt Lake City market for 40 years. I felt like I needed a decade of radio under my belt before I even attempted to climb that mountain. So as important as KSL is to you, you need to know that it's an important institution for both of us and something that we take very seriously in the responsibility of providing the right news and information for you and your families every day and carrying on the tradition of this great radio station.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Utah Senate ready to take up 2 controversial bills that passed the House last week. Second, a woman who was killed over the weekend in yet another wrong-way crash on a Utah freeway. And third, the defamation case against former President Trump was supposed to continue today in New York. The judges postponed it because a couple of participants were exposed to COVID. Right now, 40 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Walmart announced that come February 1st, they're going to increase their store manager pay to $128,000 a year. And this gave me pause, like in my parenting advice of, oh yeah, you can't work for Walmart or Home Depot for, blah, 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 blah. To say, well, maybe that actually is a good piece of parenting advice. 801-575-TALK. Would you tell your kids to work for Walmart if you knew they were going to make $128K a year and then 200% bonuses on top of that?
Yeah, maybe $400,000. Absolutely, I would, Debbie. I absolutely would tell my kids. In fact, I'm telling them right now, children, you want to be a store manager at Walmart. This is the problem where I think what we do as parents. We want our kids to have a wow job, some wow factor where we say, oh, my kid, the doctor, the Supreme Court justice, we want them to have this wow job so we can say to all our friends, I am a good parent because my child has this wow job.
Kind of living vicariously through them and their success.
Whereas if you look objectively, and I were to say, and I could see my son making $130,000 a year, possibly $400,000 a year, it would be parental malpractice not to champion that.
801-575-TALK. Dan from Salt Lake City, do you agree with Dave?
Yes, I do. Actually, my son works for Walmart.
Oh.
He makes over $20 an hour. He's a pharmacy tech, has been there for 6 years now. He's put himself through the U, and actually he's going to pharmacy school, and Walmart's already guaranteed him a pharmacy job as a pharmacist.
And at more than that $20 an hour?
Pay for it.
And so they're paying for pharmacy school?
They're paying for part of it, yep. And that's guaranteed almost $130,000 a year to start right there at the pharmacy as a pharmacist.
That's incredible. And let me ask you this, to Dave's point. Are you proud of your son?
Oh, yeah. The fact that he's put himself through and while he was at the U, on Dean's List, oh, yeah, it's just amazing.
And you're glad he works for Walmart, it sounds like.
Yeah, he loves it. So long as he's happy, that's the thing. So long as he's happy, I'm happy.
I love it. Dan, thank you for the phone call. We also had another call from, was it Marco? He just left us a message, and one of the things Marco said, because I was trying to make the point, I said, I think far too often we job hop. We don't start with a company, we don't stick with a company. In fact, I was looking up some statistics, and the average person in the United States averages about 12 job changes in about a 25 to 30 year period from 18 to 54. So we have 12 jobs, like changing every 2, 3, 4 years. And I was making the argument, I think maybe we job hop too much. And Marco, our caller, said, oh, but that's the best thing you can do is when you are constantly jumping from job to job to job, you're always looking or getting more money, or that's the best way to make more money.
We've put this on Facebook as well, and we are broadcasting live right now on Facebook. So if you're at work, near a computer, at home, and you want to watch us live, just log on to KSL News Radio and our Facebook page. You'll see it right there. We asked the question earlier. Let us know your thoughts about this new salary adjustment for Walmart store managers. And they did say, with a caveat, that store managers have not gotten raises for quite some time, that they didn't get raises during COVID. They haven't had raises during this high inflationary period. And so now they're due for a raise. It can be about almost a 10% raise, 9% to be exact. It'll kick in on February 1st. Up to like 128,000, 117 to 128,000, but it's the bonuses that you were talking about, Dave, that really
it could
wow
be
you.
200% of your base pay. So that all of a sudden creeps up to nearly $400,000 a year. Now you'd have to hit all these,
Sure.
metrics, of course, and that's
and
not
the
guaranteed.
hours might not be great. You never know.
Well, usually when you're the boss, you get
Well, hopefully. You also
get a little better
calls in
hours.
the middle of the night when there's
Yep.
things going on. Shelley from Layton, good morning.
Hello.
What do you think about this idea of pitching, jobs, long-term jobs like Walmart or working at Home Depot and working their way up the ladder there to our kids?
Well, I've never been opposed to that. I've always thought that was wonderful, especially if you like doing that kind of stuff. But my daughter was going to college, and she got a job at Jersey Mike's. And she didn't quite know what she wanted to go to school for, but Jersey Mike's took her under their wing. I mean, the manager's there. And they have encouraged her basically to go to school for business and to be a manager. Couldn't be more excited.
To be a manager?
I never thought that. To be a manager up at Jersey Mike's. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's something she never thought of, something I never thought of. Yet she is so excited to do it. I can't believe how happy she is. And I'm like, go for it.
Well, it's really, too, inspiring as well, Shelley, that the folks who are already working there have taken her under their wing and encouraged her to do this because, as parents, we're sort of on the outside of these jobs, even though we hear about our kids' jobs, that we don't realize maybe that there could be a good fit for our kids long term. So we tend to look at these jobs as, well, just do it temporarily, pay the bills, and then move on from there once you get your degree. But there's absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, it sounds fabulous that you can stay there and work your way up the career ladder.
I think far too often we look at these part-time jobs or temporary jobs or early career jobs as a stepping stone to somewhere completely different or to go in a completely different direction. And I think the important thing for my kids, when I try to parent them as much as I can, I say, hey, what's the purpose? Do you want to just love your job at all costs? You don't care what you get paid. You basically do it for free. Do you just want to have a job that you love doing? Or do you want a job that pays well, that supports your family, even if you don't love the job that much? It really depends on what your goals are. And if you're just looking for a passion project job that you can wake up every morning and think, oh, I can't wait to go to work. Well, the chances that pays super well, you're not going to the NBA, kids. You're not going to wake up and I get to play basketball today. That's not going to happen. So we have to be realistic about what our goals are. And if you just want a job that provides for your family, provides for yourself, has some real upward mobility, how could you not look at these jobs and say, you know what? Store manager at Walmart.
At least take it under consideration. Listener texted in and said, I'm sorry, it's not just about the money. And then I was like, no, you're right. That's so true. But look, as they move on in their years and if they decide to bring kids into this world, then unfortunately, we are a society, take it or leave it, love it or hate it, that is driven by money. Doesn't mean you have to make $130,000 a year, but it also means that you have to be able to make enough money to support a growing family, and that can get really, really expensive. So I think that's just how we're wired. We have an economy that's set up based on $1. And it would be great if that went away and everything was free. I would love that. I would totally champion that. My kids would probably love it too. But the fact of the matter is that's not how things work.
I don't think it's all about the money. It's what the money provides.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Park City's Main Street was shut down for a time yesterday during the Sundance Film Festival. That's because of a protest calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Martha Altazara told KSL TV everybody should know about the suffering caused by the war.
I feel like as human beings, we really all have the obligation to know what's going on somewhere else out of the comfort of our house.
The protest was scheduled at the same time as a festival panel discussing Israeli representation in the media. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Federal Aviation Administration asking for expanded inspections on some Boeing airplanes after the mid-air blowout on an Alaska Airlines flight earlier this month. ABC's Stephanie Ramos reports.
The FAA is recommending nearly 400 additional Boeing models be inspected. This is a different type of aircraft than the 737 MAX 9, where the door plug fell out of an Alaska flight a few weeks ago mid-flight, but it has the same door plug design. Now officials want operators of the 737-900ER to make sure the door plugs are properly secured. The planes are flown by Alaska, Delta, and United Airlines. The airlines say they've already begun the inspections.
And the 737 MAX 9 models right now are grounded until those inspections are finished. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 115 points. The NASDAQ is up 51. And our KSL weather, just kind of cloudy and damp. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Okay, that's good. Whoa, Dave!
Sorry, I'll go grab some paper towels. You can't let Dave pour things. He works at JCW's. They fill stuff up past the brim over there, like their milkshakes. They're thick, rich, and oh my gosh.
Delicious?
Oh no. Dave's filling up Crystal's car for her.
Dave, stop!
Hey, this is Clark for JCW. Stop into any of our 5 locations today. We're located in American Fork, Thanksgiving Point, Provo, South Jordan, and our new location in Harriman. Come in and see why at JCW's we believe in quality and a lot of it.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Tim and Amanda.
I don't want to be in the dark about things. I'm sure you don't either, Tim. I mean, I want to know. What's going on with the weather? Are my kids safe? Where is my money going? I want to be informed.
Yeah, the truth is, it's important information for you and your families to make sure that you are informed so that if some changes are necessary in your life or your children's life, you can make them by listening and starting your morning with us here on KSL.
Wake up with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Tow truck is now on the scene of an earlier crash in Mill Creek. It's in the final cleanup stages at 3900 South 1300 East. Utah County drivers, be aware of an accident westbound in Provo Canyon Highway 189 at SR 92 by the tunnel. They are blocking a right lane of travel. Mortgage rates have fallen. Lower your payment. Find out more at loansbyrick.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 287106. That's loansbyrick.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy with mild temperatures and a chance of showers Tuesday and Thursday. Today's high 48, 45. Tomorrow, lows will stay above freezing. And right now, 43 degrees and mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Boyd is here because, as you heard, not only did Ron DeSantis drop out of the race yesterday, but also in the same breath, he gave his endorsement to former President Donald Trump.
It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't.
And then there was a little bit of a dig there at the end where he said, not Nikki Haley, essentially. He was saying Donald Trump and not Nikki Haley. And then no sooner does DeSantis bend the knee, Trump makes nice by retiring the nickname.
He just said, will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said, that name is officially retired.
You only get a nickname when you're going against the president, I guess. As long as you're friends, you don't get a nickname. Boyd, thanks for joining us. We can't say this is surprising. I was sitting in church the other day on Sunday when this news broke, and everyone's like showing it to me. Like, you that surprised?
Yeah.
Like, this was not surprising to me.
Yeah. We actually predicted it on the day he announced. Also on X, he did it the same way. So he ended where he started, which was interesting and also indicative of how his campaign went. It started with a disaster on X, and it ended on X. And very little in between to show for it. And so I think the post-mortem on the DeSantis campaign will be money is not the answer. Cash flow covers a multitude of problems in candidates and campaigns, and we saw that in quadruplicate in the DeSantis campaign. And him as a campaigner really struggled to make any kind of connection with people. He did hit all 99 counties in Iowa, but I don't know that he made any friends in Iowa in the process. Very transactional in terms of his approach. And while he had a lot of people flocking to him, a lot of endorsements, including on the steps of the Utah State Capitol, a lot of times you see those kind of endorsements, including DeSantis's endorsement of the former president yesterday, is when things seem to be inevitable, ambition always jumps on board. And clearly Ron DeSantis was positioning for whatever is next in his universe by getting on the Trump train as it leaves the station there.
If you could pinpoint one thing, I know it's hard, but boil it down to one thing that you felt was off with Ron DeSantis' connection to the American people, what would that be, Boyd?
It would be the complete lack of connection to the American
personality.
People. He just didn't. He's a very much. I watched him operate as a congressman when I was back in D.C. very lone wolf in terms of his approach, kind of a loner kind of guy, never stuck around to build relationships with anybody. Again, very transactional in terms of how he went about it. So that's a hard way to build a national campaign. Yeah, he just doesn't have that natural warmth or connective tissue there. He was also, as our good friend George Will has been pointing out, is he was trying to be New Coke. He was trying to be this new version of Coca-Cola that nobody wanted. The people who like old Coke, Donald Trump, still wanted Donald Trump. And those who don't like Donald Trump, Pepsi drinkers, they didn't want new Coke either. And so he was trying to straddle this really weird line. One of my colleagues back in D.C. said today that he was trying to be Trump minus. So he was trying to be Donald Trump minus the drama, minus some of the chaos. The American people rarely go for minus candidates. I think if he was to do something different, he should have tried to be a Trump plus in terms of a vision and a direction. But it was all very much, again, backward-facing kind of politics.
One of my concerns, and I think we get caught up in this nation, is we look at style so much, style over substance, and we love the charisma. We love the person that has the riz, that can get out in front of people and rally, whereas when you look at him as a substantive governor, where the Floridians look at him, and when he won the first time, it was by 30,000 votes. It was extremely close. When they had 4 years of him, Floridians loved him. They love his substance. And I am concerned a little bit that we get sucked into this, oh, he is a little bit aloof. He isn't warm.
Yeah, and actually, I'll tell you, I think the thing about Ron DeSantis is that he didn't focus in the right way in terms of the substance. In other words, he tried to play the zinger politics. I mean, go back to the debates. He was an endless string of pre-rehearsed, pre-packaged zingers for whoever was on stage. And I actually think, to your point, Dave, you're exactly right. If he would have really focused on, here's a policy we enacted in Florida, here's what it meant to the Florida people, here's how I'll do it on the federal level, if that's the right case. If he had made that case and you say, there's a smart guy, he may not be the guy I want to go have a beer with or a root beer with, but I trust him. And the fact is that he never built trust. And you have to do that by connecting with the people. So he was a little too cute by half in the way he tried to connect with people, because he was trying to be a former President Trump light, minus. And it just didn't play. He would have been much better to go down that path of, here's the policies, here's the results, here's how I'll do it for you. Never made that connection.
I felt all along he didn't play up enough of his military service, which I think is really important as commander-in-chief, and we haven't had a lot of that in a very long time. So didn't necessarily play it up, didn't downplay it, but didn't really camp on it, which is a surprise to me, which gives him that more of that international stage perspective. And then you just brought up he served in Congress. And you know what? Through all of this, I had actually spaced that part of his resume. So he didn't play that up either. He was playing more toward maybe the popular thing to talk about in the moment. But as a leader, I think we are looking for somebody who brings all of that to the table. Maybe his campaign just got out of focus along the way, and they forgot what makes Ron DeSantis. The experience as governor, the experience in D.C., and the experience overseas.
Yeah, focus always
Quite
precedes.
simple.
Yeah, focus always precedes
And he's a
success.
family man.
Yeah.
Right?
And a great family, powerful family. And that focus, you lose that focus trying to become something that you think people want. And when you try to please everybody, you please nobody. Ron DeSantis played to a populist message when he has governed much less as a populist and much more as a practical tactician in terms of executing what's good for business, what's good for taxes, what ultimately gets down into the schools and into the community.
So much of his message, especially when in the debates there was a lot of questioning about what are we doing in Ukraine and in Israel, it seemed like his focus was so inside the borders of the United States. Let's just focus domestically. When you're the president of the United States, you don't get to just choose one. You have to have the international stuff and the domestic policy. And if we don't know what your domestic policy or your international policy is, or what your vision or future looks like, then, well, that's concerning.
Yeah, and it's a big miss, because as much as we want to say, okay, we want to focus domestically, and every president from both political parties has always said, we're going to focus domestic, but we are the United States of America. And regardless of how people feel about that and all of our flaws and imperfections, we still matter on the world stage. And so you can say, yeah, we're just going to focus domestically. There's not an American who believes that's possible. No. Because we do have an important role to play around the world in terms of freedom, in terms of human rights. And so those things are always going to pop up. Even Joe Biden has struggled because he wanted to be so domestic focused. And here he is dealing with Ukraine and Israel and the Middle East, and the list goes on and on, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and away you go. And so that's always the challenge for presidents. They want to say, hey, I am only looking out for you, for your community, for our country. And the reality is you have to do that. And it's a big old and. Yeah.
Boyd, thank
Awesome,
you.
Boyd,
Matheson, you can hear Inside Sources today starting at 1.
So now it's down in Republican primary to former President Trump and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley.
At one point in this campaign, there were 14 of us running. I was at 2% in the polls. Tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a 2-person race.
And a lot of Republicans here in Utah did throw their support behind Ron DeSantis. So where do they go now? That conversation next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
The BYU Cougars are on a roll.
And Spencer finds him for the hammer.
Tuesday at 6, it's BYU Houston. BYU Houston. Pre-game coverage. Tuesday at 6 on Utah's legacy home for the Big 12 and the BYU Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Introducing Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Call the pros at Yes and take $50 off any heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical system repair over $200. Get fast relief and $50 off any repair from Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. The same great people providing the same great service that Utah has counted on for more than 45 years. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment.
I'm Scott, the owner of Solid Fire Pits. When I began welding my custom-made fire pits for friends and family, I shared them on TikTok because I was just so proud of them. Check it out. That's beautiful. I posted every new fire pit design and more people kept ordering, from 26 states and counting. Then on my birthday, I had my best sales ever. Now how can the universe beat that?
Solid Fire Pits is just one of the 5 million U.S. businesses that rely on TikTok every day. TikTok sparks business.
Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star your name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Jeff Kaplan here. Every once in a while, I do my show from home, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I'm on KSL and sending video to the internet all at the same time because I have Xfinity Wi-Fi. It's pretty amazing because at the same time, my wife's streaming a movie, grandkids come over, one's watching YouTube, 2 are playing Minecraft, and others watching a flick, all while Grandma says, shh, Papa's on the air. We run all these devices, and I do a show thanks to my reliable, fast connection. Xfinity Wi-Fi is a game changer. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi on the Xfinity 10G network for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through March 21st, new customers can get started with 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to Internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
This is Congressman John Curtis. I'm sure you've heard that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state. We're strong and we're optimistic. I hope you'll come say hi on Monday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have J-Dogs, twisted sugar cookies, and great company. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. This Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate. As your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. See you Monday.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
KSL and the Movie Show will be at My Hearing Centers this Friday from 10 to 1. My Hearing Centers changes lives through better hearing. Visit myhearingcenters.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, demonstrators blocked Park City's Main Street over the weekend, hoping to bring attention to civilian deaths in Gaza. Second, Boeing will have to inspect more of its 737 airliners to make sure they don't have the same problem that occurred on an Alaska Airlines flight. Third, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, now dealing with the most serious form of skin cancer. Right now, 43 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, it was a year ago that so many Utah Republicans started to get on board with Team DeSantis.
Maybe it's the little secret, but it might just be that Florida is the Utah of the Southeast. I'm just saying.
At the Republican convention here in Utah, DeSantis nearly doubled Donald Trump in a straw poll. I think it was like 2,300 Republicans, and 54% fell in favor of DeSantis and 29% in favor of Trump. Where are they going to go now that DeSantis is out?
It's a great question because DeSantis had all the momentum. Coming out of the 2022 elections, Floridians loved him. He won in a landslide. Republicans were saying, please get into the race. Trump had already announced very early on that he was going to run for president, so everyone was pushing him, get in the race. And when he did initially, he was doing great, and then that support dwindled away.
Robert Axiom,
Axon.
Why do I want to call you Axiom? Sorry. Robert, good morning. I'm having a little bit of a brain cramp. I just even went and had my string cheese to fuel my energy here. Good morning, Chair of the Utah Republican Party. What are your thoughts on DeSantis bowing out yesterday?
You know, the presidential nomination cycle always has surprises, and they always have events that 6 months before seem impossible, and I think that's what we're seeing playing out right now.
6 months ago, you're absolutely right. Even a year ago, he seemed to be primed and set. What happened during that time, and how is Utah? How do you feel like the Republican Party viewed his candidacy?
You know, had the calendar played out differently, and had Utah been earlier in the game rather than the traditional Iowa or whatnot, I think that Governor DeSantis would have played very well here in Utah. We had a deep bench of candidates, a lot of really good quality candidates, but the way that the momentum goes and the presidential nominating cycle happens, you clearly see momentum starting to coalesce behind the former president.
So now we have the situation where so many Republican leaders here in the state had sent what I called a love letter to DeSantis asking him to get into the race, and then several of them officially endorsed him during one of his visits here. Where do those Republican lawmakers or others who were strongly supportive of Ron DeSantis, where do they go now, Robert?
You know, I think they'll stick with, of course, our nominee, whoever that ends up being, and we have a clear understanding of where the momentum is, like I laid out. But I think the key thing to remember is in their endorsing and encouragement going towards DeSantis in previous months, I think that's indicative of the principles and the issues that he stood up on. And that's what stays true. Those principles that Utahns felt were important and Utah elected officials felt were important for our citizens still are at the forefront of our minds. And I think the more that we encourage and focus on those principles, it will better prepare the Republican nominee to face off against Joe Biden.
I think we've seen a little bit of a groundswell building for Nikki Haley and support going toward Nikki Haley, though I also look at the former president. He can be vindictive if he feels like he's been wronged, or if there are states that don't support him or throw their weight behind him. Is there any concern that Trump will be angered with kind of this flip-flopping, or do you rally everyone around Trump at this point?
No, I mean, our process still plays out, and Utah voters have not yet spoken. They'll do that on March 5th at our caucus night, where they will be able to cast their vote in the presidential preference poll. So assuming there is still a challenger in the race to the president, we will run a fair process and one that allows for Utahns to articulate their vote. What I would say to your questions about the behavior of President Trump and how he has reacted in the past, I am confident, should he be lucky enough to be our nominee, he will very much appreciate the support and the rallying that Utahns and Republicans around the country provide to him. Now, we're not quite there to that stage. Like I said, we still are running a fair and transparent process here in Utah, and we're open to all of these current candidates to continue to engage with our citizens.
So are you worried about a rematch? I mean, because if the goal is to get the White House and there's a rematch, I think that goal could be on shaky ground.
Yeah, I mean, rematches are always interesting, right? We see them all the time in sports and everything else, but the reality is the last 4 years have been anything but smooth sailing for the American public, and certainly not here in Utah. And while Utah has been able to weather storms far better than many states, and kudos to our elected officials and the citizens around our state, Republican, Democrats alike, we're good people here in the state. We've certainly weathered the storm well, but these last few years have been tough. I think the American public are ready for a return to some of the ideas and principles that the Republican Party has articulated in the past. And really, I mean, if they compare their lives and their experiences under the Trump administration versus Joe Biden, I think it's a pretty clear answer of what's better for the people of Utah.
We're speaking with Robert Axson, chair of the Utah GOP. And you had mentioned the presidential preference poll that's coming up here in Utah. We've shifted things a little bit in this primary, where there won't be a conventional ballot. It'll be the caucus system. What did you learn, or what did you see in Iowa? Is it going to be similar to the way things ran in Iowa, this presidential preference poll? And is there anything you learned that you can draw away from that?
Yeah, great question. I'll tell you, there were some key lessons that we learned, and a lot of it of what we saw, because I flew out there with a number of people on our team and our leadership team, as well as our caucus director. It gave us a fairly high degree of confidence in the path that we're going down, and we are quite confident in the systems that we'll have in place, both from the actual logistics of executing an election, as well as facilitating the normal caucus process of electing leadership and delegates. And so we are very confident in that process and look forward to as many registered Republicans in Utah that want to participate to do so.
Have you finalized the particulars, how you're going to conduct the voting? Is it going to be by paper? Is it going to be ballot? Is it going to be online? What do you envision?
Yeah, so it will be a vote that happens at the precinct level. And so for those that are participating in person, which I would encourage any registered Republican to do so, they'll go to their caucus, which is the same process that we do every 2 years. Usually it's at a local junior high or high school or other public building, and you'll meet with your neighborhood, your precinct. And so you'll go about that normal process of electing delegates, precinct leadership, but then the only difference here is at the end, there will also be that opportunity to cast your vote if you're there in person for your preferred presidential candidate. And we are also allowing for absentee balloting for those individuals who cannot attend in person for work or health reasons or whatnot. They would be able to send their ballot in with a neighbor, a family member, or give it directly to their precinct chair, and that ballot would be counted in person as well.
Robert Axson, thank you for joining us, the chair of the Utah GOP.
So it sounds like they've started to, based on what they saw in Iowa, start to construct how it will look here on March 5th, at least for Utah Republicans who go to their caucus meetings. Is that what we're calling it? Caucus nights on March 5th?
Yeah, it's a caucus evening, and there will be a presidential preference poll where they will select the delegates, and the delegates will ultimately select whoever the candidate's going to be.
In general, how do you feel about meeting with your neighbors and doing it this way?
We don't do it enough.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we're so scared to have the conversation, have political conversations with our friends that we just run away from it because we're afraid that it's going to hurt a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, I think that's exactly who we should be talking these things through. People that we know, that we love, that we trust, that may have a different opinion, but we know it's coming from a good place.
Turnout? I think turnout might suffer.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to holding a traditional primary, but I guess we'll see after. This is how we used to do it, though.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hear ye, hear ye.
But if you want to play the game, you have to be involved. You don't just get shout from the cheap seats. I love the idea that you get down and dirty, that you have to show up. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I think we've made it so easy and so sanitized that almost to our detriment. I don't have any problem with getting together and talking it out with our friends.
And there's going to be a way to absentee vote, too. You just take your vote. Your neighbor takes your vote or your family member takes your vote.
That's kind of interesting,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I thought that was definitely interesting.
Hey, I can't make it. Will you drop this off for me?
Next, China's facing a national emergency of a declining population. So they've implemented some incentives to get women to have babies. And I'm going to go over the list of incentives because we're facing a declining population too. I mean, not probably to the extent that China is, certainly, but we are facing this. And they're recognizing that this is a real problem for the future, for the tax base, for supporting their senior citizens there. So they throw out these incentives to get women to have babies. I'm going to go over the list of incentives. Some of them you've heard of. We're doing some of the same here in the United States. But guess what? These incentives aren't working. Let's get into that next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah Highway Patrol again warning drivers after a wrong-way collision killed a woman in Salt Lake City over the weekend. Lieutenant Jelaine Hawks tells KSL TV this kind of incident has happened way too often.
This is an epidemic in our state right now.
Highway Patrol says the woman drove the wrong way to the off-ramp of I-15 from 600 South. 29 people have died over the past 6 years in wrong-way crashes. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Britain's Duchess Sarah Ferguson has already beaten breast cancer, but it turns out she now has skin cancer as well. ABC's Maggie Rulli reports.
Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, announcing she has malignant melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer. And she's using her diagnosis to raise awareness, writing, "I believe my experience underlines the importance of checking the size, shape, color, and texture and emergence of new moles that can be a sign of melanoma, and urge anyone who is reading this to be diligent."
The skin cancer rates in Utah are among the highest in the United States. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, a little bit less than it was an hour ago, 65 points up right now on the day. The NASDAQ is up about 32 points right now. And our KSL weather is going to be cloudy, maybe a little rainy. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Experience the fast, action, fun, and thrilling competition of ISU World Cup Speed Skating at the Utah Olympic Oval, January 26 through 28. Cheer on Team USA's Olympians, including Beijing 2022 gold medalist Aaron Jackson, as they race against the world's top speed skating athletes from China, Canada, the Netherlands, Japan, and more on the fastest ice on Earth. Tickets for ISU World Cup Speed Skating are available now at UtahOlympicLegacy.org.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. There are about 4,000 books a year published about leadership. 99% of them are written by self-proclaimed experts who see leadership as a fire that burns within. They assume that leadership is located in us, in the head and in the heart. Well, they're wrong. Leadership, like love, is a co-creation. It requires a relationship. It is found in the space between people. It is a series of behaviors, not traits, of an individual. Leaders don't fly solo. They need a co-pilot and a crew. They need to collaborate. Learn more about leadership in an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Winter is certainly back this year, and I bet your old furnace feels it. It's like not going to the gym for a couple years, and you decide to get back in shape. Hello, I'm Brian Jackson with Manuel Plumbing and Heating. It might be time to upgrade that old out-of-shape furnace with something new and efficient. Until February 2nd, Lennox is offering up to $1,500 in rebates on an ultimate comfort system. Give us a call and let one of our sales staff provide a free, in-home estimate on what Manuel Plumbing and Heating can do for you and your home. Call Manuel Plumbing and Heating, 801-262-4671. Too bad getting back in shape isn't that easy.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Crews are now blocking off 2 right lanes of traffic with one of our latest crashes. This is in West Jordan, northbound Bangerter Highway, about 9200 south. Expect a little bit of slowing in the area. We also have a crash called out, and this is a rollover with possible injuries. 114th south, about 3200 west. Cypress checking account members enjoy discounted rates on auto and RV loans, free access to their credit scores and reports, and a suite of other products and perks. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Cypress Credit Union, your future is our future. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cloudy with mild temperatures, a chance of showers Tuesday and Thursday. Today's high 48, 45 tomorrow. Lows will stay above freezing. Right now, 45 degrees, mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I caught this article in the New York Times, and I thought I really want to talk to Dave about this because I know we are struggling, if you will, with birth rates here in Utah and the rest of the country. The New York Times really focused on China when they did this, wrote this article and did this analysis. And the headline is, China told women to have babies, but its population shrank again. So they've even offered incentives, and I'm going to go over the list of incentives, Dave, and those incentives do not appear to be working. They're not inspiring people to get pregnant and have kids.
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes into it. And for a very long time, for generations, China had very restrictive policies of how many kids you could have. You could have one child for many, many years. So to kind of flip the switch and say, okay, now you can have more kids. Okay, it's not that easy. It's not a light switch.
And as a country, we need you to have more kids.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's a lot. We talk about the hardships on families, but the economy is really what benefits for when the next generation grows up and becomes taxpayers. They become workers. They have kids of their own. And we're facing that right now with Social Security in this country.
Exactly. When your grandma or grandpa are getting their Social Security check, where do you think that's coming from? It's not coming from the money that was taken out of their account while they were working. What's being done is you and I, my kids that are working right now, when that money goes to Social Security, it's to pay largely for those that are on Social Security right now. So when you have this population issue where you just don't have enough young kids, young workers to support the retirees, it's a disaster. And again, this is where we're headed. This is what's happening here in this country. This is something we need to be very aware of.
So in 2022, according to the New York Times, China's population started shrinking for the first time in 6 decades. So it was a couple of years ago. And if you want to compare it to the United States, just have broader data from the United States from 2007 to 2022, our birth rates dropped nearly 23%, according to the CDC. So you go from 14 or so births per 1,000 people to 11 from 2007 to 2022 in this country. We've seen our birth rates in Utah drop as well, pretty significantly. So then you turn to, okay, well, what will incentivize people to have babies? Now, China has lifted its one child per couple, married couple policy. Yeah, and they are very in tune with couples being married there. And that's how most of these incentives work. You have to be married. You can't have a child out of wedlock. So they've reversed that policy or lifted that policy restriction. You can have, in fact, they want kids to have 3 kids, couples to have 3 kids. So let me go through this list. And maybe it's just not enough money, but I was just a little surprised that this has not helped the situation at all. And there's a reason why, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. So couples in some regions of China who have a 3rd child or more will be eligible, and I'm going to do this in U.S. terms, in U.S. monetary terms, for a cash allowance of, and I think this is a one-time pay of $2,800. So the more kids you have, the more you get that $2,800. And then other cities are handing out child care subsidies and offering expanded parental leave, like extreme parental leave. I wish we had this actually written down somewhere. I read it. I think it was like a couple of months of parental leave when you have a newborn. It was far beyond the traditional 6 weeks that we offer. Some companies don't offer anything in the United States, but some offer 6 weeks, so you have to cobble together your vacation. According to Business Insider, another publication that's written about this, China will offer to help with fertility treatments. If you, as a couple, are struggling to get pregnant, they will help finance fertility treatments. And they're expanding medical insurance coverage to families who need extended fertility treatments. One county is giving a cash reward if a bride is under the age of 25, which in U.S. dollars amounts to less than $140. But if you're getting married under the age of 25, you get basically $140. I don't know what that translates to in terms of yen, but it just, it's a little bit of money, but I'm sure it's a lot more money to people in China than it sounds like to us.
There's a couple of things that we have to acknowledge. China is enormous. Obviously, the country with the largest population in the entire world. They have 1.4 billion Chinese. 1.4. We have 320 million here in the United States. But despite the fact that they are so large, 1.4 billion, their economy is still significantly below ours. So when you say $3,000 US, that is significant in China. That is not like $3,000 to us. That is a significant investment. And they see it because they are desperate. You look at the demographics of the number of people that are going to be retiring here in the next 10, 15, 20 years, and the workers. And you start looking at how many middle-aged or young kids are without a job in China. Unemployment is, I think it's in the double digits, in fact.
So that would be a lot of money.
So it's a lot of money, but so much goes into having a child. We all know this. A one-time payout, a few $1,000s here and there is nothing compared to the commitment that you're going to have to make financially for this child.
So then the question becomes, why don't women want to have babies? Or, in fact, their marriage rates are dropping there, too. And they quoted a number of people in this article, but this stood out to me. She's a 33-year-old single woman. She said, women still don't feel sure enough to have children in our country. Oh, I'm sorry. She's been married for 5 years. But when she got married, she said she didn't intend to have a baby. She said it seems that the government's birth policy is only aimed at making babies, but doesn't protect the person who gives birth. It doesn't protect the rights and interests of women. And women also in China struggle with if they file for divorce. Oftentimes their divorce petition gets denied. It's like a huge percentage. 80% of the petitions filed by women were denied by a judge on the first try when they're filing for divorce. So I think what this says to me is it's shaky. It's uncertain. And if the marriage doesn't work out, well, in China at least, the man majority of the time gets everything, or you're forced to stay in the marriage, and now you have a baby on top of it. You can't get out of the marriage. And so it sounds like China still has a long way to go. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because if these policies aren't working there, how do we fix the drop off in our birth rate here, or do we? I don't know if incentives are going to be enough to have women get into a situation where they're giving birth for $2,800 extra bucks or $3,000 or $4,000 to just have more babies. It's just a perplexing question. And when I saw that China was struggling and offering quite a few different incentives to get people to have babies and it wasn't working, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a struggle, but it's absolutely essential. We have seen the birth rate decline across this country, even here in the state where we used to always lead. We used to always have the most babies here in Utah. Now we're fourth. So things are drastically changing.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
It's only a minute of news. How long could it take?
I do a lot of surfing late at night. I'm looking at all my favorite internet sources, Wall Street Journals, New York Times. People throw me ideas, but when I sit down in the morning and it's time to write, it has to resonate with me. I have to have something to say about it. It is my minute of news.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Rochelle talks about her experience with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
It was a wonderful experience. I had heard about them on the radio. They come out to your house. They let you know what they do. They let you pick out your features, your colors, and then they come into your home the morning they start. They walk you through, this is what's going to happen, and you leave for a few days, and you come home, and it's done.
Was it easy?
It made it easy because you're not in the middle of a mess for 2 or 3 months. Left on a Tuesday morning, and it was done on a Thursday night. We came home Friday morning early because we were so excited.
What was your reaction when you first saw it?
Wow. Wow.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day kitchen and bath.
How's the water where you live? Depending on where you live in Utah, the water coming out of your tap might be really hard and not taste very good. It might be leaving spots on your glasses and shower and leaving your skin dry.
We want you to know our friends at Superior Water and Air have solutions for your home and your business, by the way. They have the best, most efficient water softeners in Utah, but not only that, they also have water purifiers that will give your family crystal clear drinking water.
And if you're still using those big unsanitary water bottles in your office, let Superior hook you up to a more convenient, trusted water system.
When you think of Superior Water and Air, think of solutions for everything in your home, from plumbing to water heaters to furnaces and air conditioning, and of course those great home standby generators.
To keeping the air in your home as healthy as possible, especially during these inversions. I had Superior install 2 things in my home that have helped us so much. We have an air purifier and a humidifier hooked right up to our furnace.
Call Superior today, 974-9090, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Drawing inspiration from the world's landmark hotels, the Grand America Hotel exudes charm and luxury, holds a 5-star service spa, and houses a variety of award-winning culinary options. General Manager Chris Erickson shares more.
At the Grand America, excellence is in the details. From the finely trimmed topiaries and the coordinated bloom of tulips each spring to the carefully sliced tea sandwiches and the curated art on display. The hotel's commitment to the details is a commitment to perfect place settings at every table in the grand ballroom and a warm welcome waiting every time a bellman opens our golden doors. Every night, a symphony of precision unfolds behind the scenes. The dedicated night crew ensures that each new day at the Grand is as enchanting as the one before. The Grand America takes unseen measures to ensure the 10-acre property is meticulously maintained, from the 775 guest rooms and suites to the 100,000 square feet of meeting and event spaces. The hotel's character is reflected in even the smallest details that individually would not seem to matter, but collectively would make a world of difference and set the Grand America apart.
Whether travelers are looking for a luxurious staycation or exquisite week-long holiday, the Grand America Hotel has it all. For more information, visit the Grand America Hotel website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, had another wrong-way crash in Salt Lake City over the weekend. A woman was killed. Second, students at Canyon View Middle School in Cedar City are on remote learning while the school district deals with concerns about carbon monoxide exposure. Third, the case of a convicted killer who's avoided execution in Oklahoma for decades, now before the U.S. Supreme Court. Right now, 45 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, this is a big story that developed over the weekend. Dave and I broke it on Friday on the show, along with the help of Adam Small. But some new details have come to light about what is going to be happening with the Oakland A's if they do come to Utah, at least temporarily, while their stadium is being built in Las Vegas. And we now know that it looks as though they're going to head to Daybreak. And the new stadium that's being built, currently under construction, being constructed for 7,500 fans to enjoy what we thought was going to be the Bees out playing out in South Jordan. But we just learned today on the show that it could be up to, 11,000, maybe even more
Yeah,
fans.
maybe even 12,000 fans.
Temporarily, right?
Yeah, this is so huge, not just for the sports fans of the world. And I think Utah needs to look at this very seriously. And you have to understand, when a Major League Baseball team comes to town, and that's ultimately the goal, but even on a temporary basis, imagine this. Deb, you're bringing in a team that collectively makes $50 million a year. So if you're bringing in an entire squad of 25 people, you're bringing in 50 multimillionaires. Multimillionaires.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
So when they're buying homes, when they're going to restaurants, when they're buying cars, all of that money is being dumped into the community in a huge way. That goes to our taxes. That goes to our sales tax. That goes to our general fund. That funds our schools. They'll be paying property taxes. This is such a monumental possibility. I don't think we're fully appreciating what a big deal this is.
Okay, so let's go over how the dominoes are falling here, because it's easy to lose track because suddenly Utah is all about baseball. Let's back up. Let's back up to about a year ago when the Salt Lake Bees made the announcement that they were going to leave Smith's Ballpark on 1300 South, on the edge of downtown. Just fair, and it's not quite downtown, but on the edge of they're going to leave Smith's Ballpark. They're going to head south to South Jordan. South Jordan announces that it's going to build a brand new stadium, which is currently, I've been by there, lived by there, it's under construction. Okay. They're going to start playing Bees baseball, AAA, out in South Jordan in the spring of 2025, right? So we got about a year. Okay, so pause, full stop right there. In the meantime, we have Gail Miller and the Miller Group out on the west side, on North Temple, where the smokestacks are, making an announcement that they are vying to bring an expansion team, like full-on Major League Baseball team, to Utah. This happened last year as well.
There are a number of compelling reasons about why our family and a number of incredible friends and partners have joined together in a coalition to bring Major League sports, baseball, to Utah.
But we need to put that in a bubble and set that aside right now because we have not officially gotten a franchise. We don't quite know where that is at yet, but we're still in the running for an expansion team. Now enter last Thursday when the Oakland A's top management comes to Utah and they're entertained by the Miller Group, it seems, and they're going over to the site in South Jordan. Doesn't sound like they went to the site at Smith's Ballpark. So they're interested in playing Major League Baseball temporarily at the South Jordan site where the Bees will eventually play. What happens to the Bees? They end up playing at Smith's Ballpark.
They stay where they're at.
Which then throws into some confusion what happens to all of the changes that were in the works to redesign Smith's Ballpark and change it into something different. And remember, the city did a contest for that. So I brought us up to speed. It's kind of confusing. But, Dave, I thought you had a really hot take on this earlier. All that aside, we're missing the big story through the confusion, and that is that we will have Major League Baseball in Utah if the A's come, and it'll be a great test to see how we'll do with an expansion team.
Let me give you an idea. The average stadium in Major League Baseball brings in somewhere between 20 and 30,000. Similar, okay. Larger than what you get at the Jazz games. The thing you have to remember about baseball, there's double the games in baseball, home games in baseball, than you have with the Utah Jazz. So there's 41 home games for the Jazz. There's going to be 81 games for a Major League Baseball team. So there's a lot more games, there's a lot more commitment, and you need a lot more buy-in from the community to show up every night. So it will be very, very important if the A's were to come and they were to play, down in daybreak, that we fill up those 12,000 seats every single night. Because if we're unable to do that, that could radically affect whether or not Major League Baseball looks at this as a viable option for expansion. 100%.
I think I would judge us.
How could you not?
Yeah, right. You should judge us on that. And so if we're filling it up every night and tickets are selling out, and it's the hardest ticket to get this side of the east, west of the Mississippi, that's really impressive. If they expand the stadium, which it sounds like that is in the works, to 12,000 seats, so that's a bump from 7,500 seats. That's a significant bump, at least temporarily. We've got to sell those out.
Absolutely. There's a few things working in our favor. Number one, the fact that it's not competing with college football and it's not competing with the NBA. College football is king in this town. I mean, in this state. University of Utah, BYU, they bring in 40, 50, 60,000 people to every football game. So you're not competing against that. You're not competing against the Jazz, who bring in 20,000 people a night. So the fact that you're in the summer, you're competing against RSL a little bit, but there are plenty of people. It's a perfect summer activity. I think it would be a slam dunk. I think the support would be phenomenal. But it's also crucial that the support is phenomenal. Otherwise, say goodbye to our possible expansion team.
Are you competing at all with late spring snowstorms? Does that matter that much?
Without a doubt.
Because I'm thinking about the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think they might have a retractable stadium, but I'm thinking about all of the I'm thinking about all the stadiums I've been to. Maybe Coors Field.
The Rockies deal with it.
The Rockies have to deal with it. But a lot of stadiums don't have this same, like, Mother Nature just gets randomly angry in June, and there's this like late spring snowstorm that could potentially mess with the games. But hey, we would have to deal with that if we got a major league expansion team. I would pray for a roof over the stadium.
That would be amazing. Little air conditioning in the summer.
We don't know for sure yet if the Oakland A's will temporarily call South Jordan, the Daybreak area, home, at least for a few years, where their stadium is being built in the Las Vegas area. But I think it's an honor. It's an honor that they're considering temporarily setting up shop here in Utah.
The A's averaged 10,000 fans per game.
We've got it.
In Oakland.
We've got this, right?
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Utah's Noon News. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this hour. A bill that would essentially get rid of diversity, equality, and inclusion programs in government institutions is moving quickly through the legislature. It's getting its first look in the Senate today after it got the nod of approval in the House on Friday. KSL News Radio's Hugo Ricard-Bell is live with more. Hugo?
Maria, bill sponsor Representative Katie Hall faced a barrage of questions from all sides of the House for over half an hour on Friday before her bill was voted 58-14 in favour for it to move forward and face scrutiny today from the Senate. It will be presented to the Senate committee at around 2 o'clock this afternoon, and there's expected to be pushback on the bill from university students this afternoon as well. Mayor of Salt Lake County, Jenny Wilson, also called for a rejection of the bill, saying it sends the wrong message about, quote, who we are as a state. Tune in to Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News to hear all the latest from the Capitol. Reporting live, Hugo Ricard-Bell, KSL News Radio.
Utah State Hospital could soon be gone if a bill about mental health gets through the legislature. Here's KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston with details.
Representative Tyler Clancy's idea is to sell the Utah State Hospital in Provo and put the money toward a $1 billion overhaul of the state's mental health care system. He says the problem is that the most common entry points for Utahns into the state's behavioral health system is the county jail and the state prison. Clancy says under his bill, people with severe mental illness and a criminal record with at least 15 felonies per year would be required to check into a facility.
Department of Health and Human Services says staffing could be an issue since the state hospital is already understaffed. Utah lawmakers are being asked to consider a new way for families to deal with the remains of a loved one who has passed away.
Natural organic reduction. It's also called terramation, or I've heard folks use human composting, all of these terms for the same sort of concept.
Senator Jennifer Plum is sponsoring the bill. She says the process speeds up the breaking down of the body. The end result is a soil-like material that can be used almost like a fertilizer. KSL's top national stories. The nation's largest four-year public university system, the California State University system, will be operating on a limited staff this week. Workers have walked off the job while making new contract demands. ABC's Alex Stone reports from California.
Officially, CSU campuses are open this week, but with professors, counselors, coaches, librarians, and others on strike all week, operations are likely going to be very limited at all 23 campuses. Professors are being told they must tell their students if there will be classes. The striking workers want a pay bump and other benefits.
This is the largest university faculty strike in U.S. history. We are just hearing Dexter Scott King, the youngest son of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Coretta Scott King has died of cancer at the age of 63. He served as the chair of the King Center for Nonviolent Social Change in Atlanta. A Georgia judge is expected to hear arguments today over whether to enforce a subpoena for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. She is facing allegations of having an inappropriate relationship with a prosecutor in the election interference case against Donald Trump.
The wife of the prosecutor, Nathan Wade, has subpoenaed Fani Willis in their divorce case, essentially trying to get her to come under oath and put forward what she knows about the marriage. Fani Willis is seeking to quash that subpoena, saying she has nothing relevant towards the case and that the subpoena amounts to an attempt to harass her and embarrass her public reputation.
ABC's Olivia Rubin reports from the courthouse in Cobb County, Georgia. A day before tomorrow's primary vote, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley held a campaign event in Franklin, New Hampshire. Haley responded to what she said are Trump's claims about her policy proposals.
He says, I want to cut Social Security and raise the retirement age. I never once said that. Not once. If anything, we're going to make it solvent so that no one lives in fear.
Yesterday, the Republican race got a little less narrow when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropped out. The chair of the Utah Republican Party is weighing in on DeSantis leaving the GOP presidential primary.
Utah Republican Party Chair Robert Axson says he is not surprised that DeSantis has endorsed former President Trump so quickly.
Governor DeSantis articulated it well in why he wanted to endorse President Trump and some of the concerns that he feels are happening here in this country that President Trump is well equipped to engage on.
Axson says he shares the Florida governor's conviction that the current administration is a disaster, and whoever can win the Republican nomination can help us get back on the right track as a country. Mark Jackson, KSL News Radio.
The Orem Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was dedicated over the weekend, becoming the state's 19th operating temple for the church. Elder D. Todd Christofferson of the of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles led the services. He also dedicated the Lima, Peru temple last week. First look traffic. Good afternoon, Ricky Meese.
Good afternoon, Maria. We are looking at a crash causing some backups on I-15. This is in Sandy. The accident is northbound as you're approaching 90th South, and it is blocking a couple of right lanes of traffic. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
Spend time with KSL News Radio and get a deeper understanding of the world around us.
I do listen to KSL so much because you've got voices like Boyd Matheson.
I listen to him every day.
You can trust him.
Inside Sources, weekdays 1 to 3.
On KSL News Radio.
IVC, Interventional Vascular and Vein Center, is having a New Year, New Leg special event on Saturday, January 27th. This will be a free screening for varicose veins at their office in Provo. Don't let leg pain slow you down in 2024. Why wait? Now is the time to kick off the new year with new legs. Come and learn why starting at the beginning of the year is ideal to get you ready for spring. IVC has been in business for over 20 years and has been voted the best vein center of Utah Valley for 10 years running. IVC's doctors, advanced practice providers, and sonographers will be on hand to answer your questions. So come see them Saturday, January 27th for a free varicose vein screening. Space is limited, so please RSVP right now. Visit ivein.com. That's the letter I, VEIN.com to schedule your New Year, New Legs free screening at IVC. Because life starts when the pain stops.
It's the dead of winter, and our friends at Advanced Window Products have a wonderful wintertime offer. This is Jeff Kaplan. If the cold is seeping into your house right now, Nate and Jake will give you $2,500 off on double-pane windows and the highest quality custom frames built right here in Utah. Any style, any color, and the $2,500 is atop their already low prices. See, they build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. So there's no middleman markup. At Advanced Window Products, they offer 0% financing. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage in the dead of winter while the wind is whistling and give your home, your number one asset, a fresh new look. Plus, you save money on heating and air conditioning so much so the energy companies offer rebates. Buy local. Their factories right here in Salt Lake City. Save an extra $2,500 off the best windows and frames in Utah. 801-850-9100. 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
Thank you for joining us for Utah's Noon News, recapping our top story. A bill that will ban diversity, equity, and inclusion statements is headed to a Senate committee this afternoon. We'll continue to bring you the very latest. KSL News Time 12:08, breaking news. A longtime Salt Lake County prosecutor has died. David Yoakum served as Salt Lake County District Attorney in the late 80s and again from 1998 to 2006. Yoakum may be best known for his work securing a kidnapping conviction against Ted Bundy before Bundy's serial killings became public knowledge. Yoakum's death was announced by current DA Sim Gill. The current DA did not provide a cause of death. Speeding in an active school zone could cost much more than you'd think. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
Speeding in an active school zone is not only extremely dangerous, but it could be extremely costly if a House bill passes. It would increase the fines by 5 times, taking an average $50 ticket to a $250 ticket. The bill also increases fines for drivers who ignore school bus signals. Even if it's by accident, passing the flashing red lights or stop sign could cost you up to $400.
The bill is currently sitting in the House waiting for a vote. Utah Highway Patrol is dealing with yet another wrong-way collision that ended in the death of a driver. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
This crash happened after a woman drove onto the off-ramp for I-15 at 600 South. Troopers say she wasn't properly wearing a seatbelt when she collided with an SUV going eastbound. That driver only suffered minor injuries, but the woman was killed in the crash.
UHP says the number of wrong-way collisions is an epidemic. A series of freeway shootings in the Seattle area has drivers on edge.
The latest shooting was along Interstate 90. A bullet hole was left in the tailgate of a victim's truck. There have been 12 freeway shootings so far this year around Seattle, but the Washington State Patrol says there is no indication they're all related. Kendra Hubble lives in the area.
It's really scary to hear the shootings are so close to home.
Nobody has been injured in the shootings. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Ricky, what's going on?
We do have an accident northbound I-15 in Sandy just before 90th South. Now, on the main flow, a couple of right lanes are blocked to traffic, and it's causing a little bit of backup to the Southtown Mall. Also, a crash. This is northbound Bangerter Highway in West Jordan, and this is right about 9200 South. 2 left lanes open to travel, and crews are still working to clean up an earlier rollover crash 114th South at 3200 West. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced health care in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll likely see a break in the clouds today. We'll go partly cloudy skies with a high of 48 degrees, very mild for this time of year. 33 overnight with clouds. Tomorrow, 45, mostly cloudy skies. Keeping the clouds around on Wednesday, 42. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy skies, 42 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Coming up on Utah's New News, we'll go in depth about a new bill to change options of what you do with your loved ones when they pass away. That's next, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
Marcus, what happened?
I was changing my oil and I spilled some on the floor.
Oh, well, use these $50 bills to wipe it up.
Perfect. Got any more?
Yeah, take a couple hundred.
Stop. Instead of using money, use an old rag. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted. Speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
Back in 2004, got a letter from the IRS indicating that I was no longer married, and therefore they were to change my filing status to single.
We were really upset.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
As soon as we met Jordan and he started talking to us, number one, he made us feel like we weren't the imbeciles that the IRS had made us feel like for so many years.
I'm Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS tax nightmare.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Visit taxhelput.com or call 801-657-5951 to schedule your free consultation today.
We can move forward with confidence and assurance that we're okay.
That's taxhelput.com.
It's marvelous, just marvelous.
KSL News Time 12:15. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
a bill to increase fines for speeding in active school zones could make the tickets 5 times more expensive. I'm KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
Second, the nation's largest four-year public university system, the California State System, will be operating on limited staff this week. Thousands of staff members walked out today in the largest university faculty strike in U.S. history. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
Right lane still blocked northbound Bangerter Highway about 9200 south with a crash. Also an accident northbound I-15 blocking right lanes of traffic approaching 90th south in Sandy. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A mix of sun and clouds today, high of 48. I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy, 42 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
From the ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. It is down to the home stretch in New Hampshire, the nation's first presidential primary.
It's down to 2 candidates in New Hampshire. Undecided voters and independents could propel or narrow Nikki Haley's chances beyond the Granite State against Donald Trump. At a Haley event, Diane Christine, who voted for President Biden last election, says Social Security is her biggest concern.
I'm going to be 65 this year, and inflation has been just like crazy.
Jake, turning 18 this year, came with his parents to see Haley. He'll vote in his first general election this fall. He's also concerned about his future.
I think I'm just open to seeing new ideas.
Michelle Franzen, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
President Biden and Vice President Harris are speaking about reproductive rights on this anniversary of Roe v. Wade. The court overturned nearly 2 years ago the decision, and the White House says it turned back the clock on women's rights.
Today, 21 states have abortion bans in effect. 27 million women of reproductive age live in states with bans. That's more than 1 in 3 women.
Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, protesters are camped outside Israeli Prime Minister's private and official residences in Jerusalem. Many families of hostages in the war with Hamas who say they won't leave until their loved ones are freed.
Several families of Israeli hostages storming a committee meeting at Parliament, yelling at lawmakers to bring home their loved ones from Gaza. Angry relatives calling for an end to the right-wing government they say is preventing a hostage deal to free over 100 Israelis. It's another sign of the growing criticism and pressure mounting on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose actions indicate dismantling Hamas comes before freeing the hostages. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Stocks are higher. You're listening to ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. The new bill under consideration this legislative session would give people the option to be turned into a soil-like material after they die. KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff explains.
The process is called natural organic reduction, terramation, or simply human composting.
It involves breaking the deceased person's body down into a soil-like material that can then be mixed into the ground, much like fertilizer. The bill is being sponsored by Senator Jennifer Plum.
When my brother passed in 1996, so it's been a minute, and he is in a cemetery. We used to visit him every birthday, every Memorial Day. We would do these regular visits, and that's not nearly as frequent as it was. But we did plant a big plum tree downtown, actually in Pioneer Park. And I pass that tree at least once a week. And it is that same sort of thing, like, hey, there's a really positive reminder of someone who meant a lot to me.
She says this idea was actually brought to her last year, but she wasn't ready to move the bill forward at that time.
More people, strangely unrelated to one another or, not connected to one another, reached out over the past year plus or so saying, there's something I'd really like to talk about. And they get a little quiet and they get a little, I don't know what the right word is, maybe a little reserved because, it's a sacred space.
She says this new process would be added to more traditional methods.
What this natural organic reduction process does is it essentially accelerates what would happen if we were back in the day and we just ended up in the ground. Then eventually you would break down.
Senator Plum says the new process would still be carried out by trained morticians and would not be available to anyone who had passed away from certain types of diseases. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time 12:19. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And let's check in with Ricky Meese.
If you're headed northbound on I-15, you're going to see delays. It's right around 114th South now. It's all due to a crash at 90th South, blocking a couple of right lanes of traffic. So just give yourself an extra 5 to 10 minutes on that drive. We still have the cleanup of a crash northbound Banketer, about 9200 South. That leaves only a left lane of travel open. Otherwise, we're looking at a pretty good drive on the rest of your Valley freeways at this time. Mr. Max buy one get one sale. Buy one suit for $299. Get the second one for $100. Any style, any occasion, free alterations and 9 locations. Mr. Mac. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast holds on to the theme of mild temperatures and clouds. We'll go 48 today with partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, 45. Keeping the clouds in on Wednesday, 42. We're down to 41 on Thursday with a chance for rain and snow showers. Then we're cloudy again as we work into Friday, high of 40. How about Saturday? 40, partly cloudy. Keeping a mix of sun and clouds on Sunday, 41. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And right now, 42 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City under mostly cloudy skies. And the 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Getting a little choked up because the Dow's getting pretty close to the 38,000 mark. Complete update of your money news coming up next.
When's the best time to plant a tree? It was 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? It's now. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I remember years ago being sent home from elementary school with a small tree in a styrofoam cup. I know some of you can relate. If that was planted, it's now bigger than you are. Your finances are the same way. The best time to get started, or the best time to get a second opinion, is now. And with time and patience, imagine how big your financial tree could be. 20 years ago, if you invested $1,000 in Apple stock, it could be worth over $500,000 today. That is a big tree. Do that for you and do that for someone you love. Call Trajan Wealth today and help us help you plant that financial tree. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
This is Congressman John Curtis. I'm sure you've heard that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state. We're strong and we're optimistic. I hope you'll come say hi on Monday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have J-Dogs, Twisted Sugar Cookies, and great company. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. This Monday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in Orem. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate. As your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. Please RSVP at johncurtis.org to let me know you're coming. See you Monday.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up or repair or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics.
I think the biggest thing we all have to reject is the status quo. We have to reject the kind of politics that have been served up to us and that we've bought into. The biggest question for all of us is, what are we afraid of? And often what we're afraid of is losing power. Politicians often tell us, you can vote for whoever you want, but if you vote for someone other than me, you'll lose power, you'll lose influence. And we have to reject that. Our voting right is our most sacred and fundamental right. Vote for the best person, even if they're not in either political party. Some will try to convince you that's throwing your vote away and the evil, awful other side is going to win because of that. That's what they want you to believe. Because if you're functioning out of a position of fear, we all lose. You'll vote for the status quo, and that keeps the status quo in power.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time 1224. The Supreme Court will hear an appeal from an Oklahoma death row inmate who has maintained his innocence.
Richard Glossop was sentenced to death in a 1997 murder for hire of the owner of the motel where he worked. The Supreme Court blocked the latest effort to execute Glossop in early May, and now the state's attorney general telling the justices that Glossop's conviction is unsustainable and needs a new trial, previously saying that some evidence in the case was destroyed. The case won't be argued until the fall. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington.
KSL News Time 1225, watching Utah's money. The EPA's newest assessment of water quality and pollution in the U.S. rivers and streams shows almost no progress on cutting the nitrogen pollution. Majority of it comes from farm chemical runoff. It can cause algae blooms and contaminate drinking water. It may get worse as climate change increases rainfall that can wash more nutrients into waterways. Panera Bread is seeing more issues with its charged lemonade. A third lawsuit has been filed against the restaurant chain, claiming the highly caffeinated drink caused permanent heart issues. Cryptocurrency lawyers are using Beanie Babies to argue in court. They say buying the currency is like buying one of the plush toys, and crypto is more like a collectible than a stock. The digital currency was compared to the 90s toys in a case against the Securities and Exchange Commission. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 91 points. It's about 0.25%, sitting at 37,954, just flirting with that 38,000 mark. The S&P 500 up by 9 points. The NASDAQ, it's up by 37 points. Macy's says no to a takeover bid from a pair of investment firms.
Ark House Management and Brigade Capital Management had offered $21 a share, part of an acquisition worth nearly $6 billion. But Macy's board rejected that, saying the pair didn't provide enough proof they'd be able to turn the struggling retailer around or even be able to raise that amount of money. Just last week, Macy's announced it was laying off about 3.5% of its headcount and closing 5 stores. Macy's, one of many department stores struggling to overcome online competition. Sherry Preston, ABC News, New York.
Every single show on KSL News Radio is part of the KSL app, so you can listen when you want. News with Tim and Amanda when you get up, hit live on the app. Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1, they're on the app. Plus, you can podcast them for work. And Jeff Kaplan, yeah, he's there on the app. The movie show, KSL Greenhouse, latest traffic report, they're all on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
COVID-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Managing today's uncertainty can be overwhelming. We crave security, and it's uncomfortable when we sense a lack of control over our lives. Develop a routine for a more balanced lifestyle with healthy habits and fun. Focus on what you can control, even if it's little things, like a before-bedtime ritual.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Join Morris Columbus Travel and KSL Radio for the 28th Annual Utah Travel Expo this Friday and Saturday from 4 to 7 at the Mountain America Expo Center, utahtravelexpo.com. KSL News Time, 12:29. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Let's check in now with Ricky Meese.
We've had a secondary crash on northbound to I-15. The first one occurred just before 90th, now one at 90th over to the right. There is still a right lane block northbound to I-15 in that area with delays back to 114th South. Cleanup crews still working the accident in West Jordan, northbound Bangalore Highway 9200 South. Only a left lane of traffic getting through that area. Fed Up Kitchen is Utah's premier healthy meal prep service. Save time, money, and get results with their delicious meals made fresh daily. Right now, save 20% on your first order. Use promo code KSL at fedupkitchen.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Balmy January weather today with a high of 48, partly cloudy skies. Overnight, we'll dip off into the low 30s with cloudy skies. 45 tomorrow, more clouds. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And right now, 42 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City.
You're listening to Utah's New News with Maria Chaleos
on KSL News Radio,
102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 12:30. KSL's top story this hour. Utah lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have agreed on at least one issue making its way through the legislature. KSL News Radio's Amy Kobabe is live with that story. Amy?
Maria, Senator Lincoln Fillmore is sponsoring a joint resolution supporting what's called the success sequence. That sequence is basically that education, work, and marriage all come before having children. Senator Fillmore says this has a positive impact on the people who follow it.
And because it has such a powerful impact on individuals, the more individuals that use it, the better off society will be.
The resolution received a unanimous support in committee, including from Democrat Senator Kathleen Reeby, who spoke in favor. Reporting live, Amy Kobabe, KSL News Radio.
The 2024 legislative session is only in its second week, but some controversial bills have already made their way from the State House to the Senate. Senate President Stuart Adams says as early as this afternoon, two committees will take up a bill that affects diversity programs in government institutions like universities, as well as one that impacts gender-specific bathrooms in government buildings.
We'll get public input, and that's really important to have. So I'm sure the committees will be long and open to those that want to speak.
Adams says if the committee signs off, both bills could head to the Senate floor by the middle of the week. KSL's top national stories. Dozens of family members of hostages held by Hamas stormed a committee meeting in Israel's parliament, demanding a deal to win their loved ones' release. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insisted to the Israeli public that pursuing the devastating offensive in Gaza is the only way to bring home hostages. Talks on a phased deal to bring the hostages home and end the war is under discussion, but the two sides are very far apart. ABC's Jordana Miller reports from Jerusalem.
The Israeli army expanding its operations in southern Gaza, moving west of Khan Yunis. Intense airstrikes reported overnight, over 160 dead, according to the Hamas-run Health Ministry. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejecting calls for an end to the war, calling that a surrender to Hamas. The terror group still far from defeated in the south, still fighting fiercely, still firing rockets, and still holding 132 hostages, among them 8 Americans. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
The Biden administration is still standing with Israel, but is working behind the scenes to end this war as soon as possible as civilian casualties rise every day. We're learning about a new attack on U.S. forces in the Middle East by Iran-backed militants. According to the Pentagon, several American personnel are being evaluated for possible traumatic brain injuries after a missile barrage against a base in Iraq.
This is exactly the kind of escalatory strike by Iran-backed militants that the White House has been trying to avoid, a barrage of ballistic missiles and rockets targeting U.S. forces in Iraq. Now, the Pentagon says that this attack was largely intercepted by air defense systems, but we know that several U.S. service members are now being evaluated for possible traumatic brain injuries, and at least one Iraqi service member was wounded.
That is ABC's Mary Bruce reporting. Another type of Boeing 737 is now under the microscope.
Today, the FAA is recommending airlines that fly the Boeing 737-900. Different than the Boeing 737 MAX 9, visually inspect mid-exit door plugs that are very similar to the ones on the MAX 9 to make sure they're properly secured. It comes after United and Alaska Airlines found loose hardware on their MAX 9 door plugs. U.S. airlines that fly the 737-900 include Delta, United, and Alaska. They say inspections of the 900s should not impact flight operations. Alex Stone, ABC News.
An uncomfortable but important warning from the FBI. The agency is telling parents and kids about a 20% increase in cases of online sextortion of children. Sextortion, according to the FBI, is a crime where an adult pressures kids and teens to share explicit pictures online. To better protect your child, the FBI recommends being open with them about the real risk of online predators. For more information, you can check out KSLNewsRadio.com. Pressure on kids to perform in sports is leading to serious injuries, and some kids are leaving sports altogether. ABC's Allison Kosick has more.
The new study released overnight finds a whopping 70% of kids are dropping out of organized youth sports by age 13.
Nice, Alex.
In recent years, experts have raised more concerns about parents taking the fun away.
When there's such an overemphasis on winning, it really takes away the enjoyment.
Factors include depression, fatigue, sleep problems, and injuries.
The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends young athletes keep to one sports per day and have at least 1 day of rest per week. KSL Sports, the Oakland A's have their eye on Daybreak as a temporary home, and Utah's doing all it can to make it happen. Amanda Covington, Chief Corporate Affairs Officer for the Larry H. Miller Company, says there's a lot of enthusiasm.
We don't have a specific timeline, but we do know there are some things that MLB looks toward to award a team for an expansion market, and so those are the things we're working on.
Covington says the team itself is excited about Utah and the work they are doing on the stadium. First look traffic. What's happening, Ricky?
Good news is the crash has been cleared northbound Bangerter Highway at 9200 South. However, northbound I-15 at 90th South, a right lane still blocked as the crews continue to work to clear a crash there, and we still have residual delays. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:36.
Bigger stories demand more accountability, more experience, more trust.
If it's like an election day or we're expecting some bad weather, KSL presents the story unbiased.
It's a good local source. We have